Well, we are back, huh? We're back at the 9 Club, everybody. Listen, today we got a special guest. Mr. Andy Macdonald is with us. How are you, bro?
He introduces everybody like that, right?
Pretty much, yeah.
Special. I got 3 specials out of it.
Did you want another one?
Could you give me just one more?
He deserves one more.
One more?
Yeah.
Special guest!
Thank you. Good to be here. Good to be here.
Man, listen, it's been a long time in the making. And listen, we have Kelly Hart sitting over there, who's you guys kind of.
I got a special mug right here.
You got a mug with this. Look at that, huh?
Inspired by our guest.
You dressed as you as Christmas for Christmas.
For Christmas.
Halloween.
Oh, for Halloween.
I would love to do it for Christmas too.
We just had Christmas. That's why I'm all in that.
I'm hyped he's here, dude. This is cool.
I know.
I am the easiest Halloween.
Yeah, but even more easy when you kind of look like.
Yeah. You did it best, man. You did it best. But
you really did, huh?
Did you get tagged a lot in like my posts at all? Because I tagged you, but I don't know if you see it at all.
I know. I get it. Like I posted just the other day. I get it. And it's been a year. I get it. Anytime I post, like, oh, Kelly Hart's ripping vert again. Like, I didn't know he could ride full pipes. Like, oh, backside Smith in a pool. Damn.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yep, you're ripping.
Like I said, when we do the show, we always wonder, like, I wonder if Andy sees all this stuff, and I wonder if he gets. And he's like, because some people are on social media, but they don't do social media. They don't pay attention to what's out there. So
I'm on Facebook. I don't even know how to work Facebook.
You don't even.
It goes there. Somebody pressed a button, and so anything I do on Instagram goes to Facebook. But
sure, that's the easiest way to do Facebook.
Yeah,
is just by pushing the button.
Yeah.
Don't you have to be over like 65 to do Facebook now? Anyway,
I feel like it's getting that way. Raj is on Facebook.
Raj is like, oh, damn. I'm sorry, bro.
Right now.
Oh, man. No, but seriously, dude, thank you so much for taking the drive up here from San Diego area.
My pleasure.
Appreciate that. Yeah. Listen, we were talking before the show, and I found it super interesting because we were talking about, growing up in near Boston, right? What was the name?
In and around the Boston area. When I met this guy, apparently,
Raj.
I was living in Melrose, Massachusetts. That's where I went to high school.
Okay.
But before that, Somerville. They used to call it Slummerville. Now it's like all hoity-toity now.
Yeah. Oh.
And then I graduated from Newton North High School, which is like more Boston proper.
Yeah.
Okay. I found it interesting because you were saying like sometimes you had to drive like 2 hours to skate a vert ramp and all this stuff, or you could count on one hand where
there's
to go skate.
Yeah. Grew up in New England. There's I don't know, the mentality is different. You don't like, having been in California now for 25 plus years, like your blood goes thin pretty quick. Like, it's like in the 60s today. I don't know.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Whereas like I grew up and if you wanted to skate, you had to find a way, make a way to do it. If it was raining, you skated in parking garages.
Right.
We built ramps and you literally had to, first I had to ride my bike through the slush streets or whatever.
Okay.
And then I would have to shovel the ramp off when I got there. And we would pour kerosene on the flat bottom and light it on fire, and that would melt the ice and dry the ramp. And then we had a big pair of galoshes next to the ramp because we didn't think about building board guards or anything. So when your board shot off into the snow,
you had to put on galoshes.
You put your skate shoes right in the galoshes so you can wade out into the snow and get your board and not get your skate shoes wet. And then you go back up on the top and you're wearing like 6 pairs of sweatpants and just like, you look like you're going snowboarding, but you're skateboarding.
Right. You're bundled up.
And then we had an extension cord from the house with a hairdryer, and you could warm up your hands enough and dry your grip tape. And then you could drop in again.
You tell your kids this, right? You're like, you don't know the problems I had.
I used to walk to school uphill both ways.
Yeah, that's you,
carrying hot potatoes in my hands.
That's you, huh? We put galoshes on to go get our skateboards.
Yeah. So there's the mentality. There's like kind of the East Coast. Like if you're an East Coast skateboarder, like me and this guy know stuff that you guys will never know because you grew up out here, and it was just like, it's December. I'm skating in shorts and a t-shirt. This is what I always do.
Totally.
And in December in New England,
5 layers.
Yeah, if you want to skate, like, and then if you can find like the underground parking garage or whatever, when you fall and you smack your hand for some reason because the blood's not circulating, like only an East Coast skater knows that feeling to like whack.
You feel like you're gonna shatter.
Yeah. And all the blood rushes to your fingertips as fast as it possibly can, and it just hurts
Tingle.
3 times as much. You're just like, oh, like it's, and you don't get that here.
We do.
Yeah.
When it's like 65, 67, you hand slap on the ground hurts a little bit,
Yeah.
But how do you find skateboarding in this kind of wet, especially like vert skating? Like you said, you had to drive 2 hours to this vert ramp. Like how does a kid?
I'm old, so when I picked up a skateboard, that's what skateboarding was. It was like when you picked up Thrasher magazine. The first issue of Thrasher magazine I saw had a picture of Tony Hawk doing an airwalk on it.
There you go.
So it was like, that's what I want to do. That's what I want to do. What the guys are doing in the magazines, and in the magazines it was all vert skating. So I mean, we didn't have any vert ramps, so obviously it was street skating right away. But we built jump ramps, and then we built a quarter pipe, and then we picked up our quarter pipe and carried it 4 blocks to Billy Doyle's backyard and put another quarter pipe next to it. And now we had a half pipe.
Right.
So you just immediately you were trying to emulate what you saw in the magazines.
Right, sure.
And then once I started skating half pipes and learning, I learned to go in the air.
Yeah.
And it's a different sensation. Like you can go in the air off a jump ramp all day. And
All day. Yeah. To flat.
To flat.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's just a lot more jarring. You're flying when you jump down steps, but then you're, and on a half pipe, you can do it and land smoothly and it doesn't hurt at all. And it's like this feeling of flying once you learn it. So once I got the little, my first 6-inch air over the lip, I was like, this is what I want.
This is it.
It's like
right.
what it happened that that's the style of skating that I excelled the most in, but it's because of the feeling that it gave me,
Well, I couldn't even imagine. I mean, there's vert skaters out, but I mean, I couldn't imagine the feeling of flying.
Yeah. I mean, that's the one thing really that separates the feeling that you guys get when you learn a new switch hard flip tail slide for the first time.
Sure.
You're like, I've been working on this for so long, and to actually boom, stick it right away. You're like, it's like this feeling of relief,
and
satisfaction,
it's
and
the best thing.
It's only a skater knows that feeling, right? There's only a surfer knows the feeling. Like only a skater knows the feeling. There's tricks in skateboarding that took me 6 years to do once, right? And for 6 years, literally blood, sweat, and tears, and then you did it once, and I could tell you the day, the year, the temperature outside, the first time I did a 540.
Okay, let's hear it. What was it? What was the day? What was the time? What was the temp?
It was July 30. It was July 4th.
4th of July.
Wow.
1995, 4th of July demo at Woodward Skate Camp. Tom Boyle was on the deck.
You did it in a demo?
Yeah, in a demo. Yeah, that's oftentimes, especially in vert skating, when there's the energy. I watched some of what you guys were talking about with Tony doing the first 900.
Yeah.
Part of the reason why he made the 900 when he did was because he had the support of thousands of people behind him.
Yeah.
And
gets you juiced.
Yeah, and he even said you're more willing to just
put it out there,
put your body on the line for because you're not just doing it for you now. All these people are kind of counting on you, and you're like, sure, I'll slam. I'll take it for
right.
And so you're more willing, and you just you have that support. You have that you skate better when people want you to skate better.
Yeah.
No, it's totally true. It's totally true. So at a demo, Woodward.
At Woodward, I was staff at Woodward. I've been at Woodward for 27 summers consecutively. This summer,
what do you do
when
there?
I went back,
what do you mean staff?
I was an instructor. I was a cabin counselor and instructor.
Okay.
And at Woodward, Pennsylvania.
Oh, wow.
Growing up in Boston, when I was a junior in high school, I applied, got the job a couple weeks, and started going back every summer.
How were you good at skating when you applied as a junior in high? How good of a skateboarder?
I started skating when I was 12.
Okay.
And by the time I was a junior in high school, I decided I want to be a professional skateboarder.
Right.
I was flipping through the magazines, those guys get paid to skateboard in the sun.
That sounds great.
That's what I want to do.
Yeah,
and it was never I never thought I was going to be able to, be rich from it or anything, but I was there's a living, you can make a living, and, because I was this East Coast naive, both my mom and dad were you got to go to college, you never make a living doing that, blah, blah. And that wasn't really,
right.
What I was thinking about. I was just if I could scratch out a living doing what I love, that's what I'm going to do.
That's perfect. Yeah.
So graduated high school and drove to California.
Oh, and so they gave you a job though, even
so
though you.
The plan was on the way. I'm gonna stop at Woodward and earn money, because once you're at Woodward, there's nothing but cornfields and Amish people.
Sure.
Yeah.
And you're making money and not spending any, because you get 3 meals a day and
And a place to sleep.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
Was that the first job you ever had?
it wasn't the first job I ever had. I worked a lot trying to get out to raise money to get to California. The
okay.
first job I ever had actually was skateboarding, though. I was teaching skateboarding at the Winchester YMCA. I taught, and my mom recently found a check, because minimum wage at the time was $4.25.
Okay.
And I taught a 1-hour skateboard lesson. And then the taxes were taken out, so she found a check for like $4.18.
You didn't even cash it. You didn't even cash it.
It wasn't about making money. I wasn't going to make money.
$4.80.
It cost 75 cents to take the bus there.
Yeah.
Well,
So
$4.80
I would take the bus.
could have gotten you a
take the
couple
bus to
miles.
Wakefield and teach a skateboard class in their gym for an hour, and then I'd take the bus home. And that was my first official like real job, besides like babysitting and paper route.
Right.
That's the first time where I got an actual paycheck.
That you didn't cash.
One of them I didn't cash.
What did you should try cashing it. You should try cashing it. Just
the
for
bank
fun.
that
I
it's
bet it would
written-
clear.
The bank that's
Is it
written to is not a
Woodward?
bank
No?
anymore. No,
Oh,
this
it
wasn't
wasn't
Woodward. Yeah,
No,
this was the YMCA. Yeah.
So you get a job at Woodward on your way to California? Was that the vibe?
So I got a job my senior year of high school, and knew California was the destination. So my spring break of my senior year, and I was going to Newton North High School at the time. I went. Chris Miller and the Planet Earth team had come out to New England for a little demo tour or whatever. So I met Chris Miller. Chris had become super good friends, instant friends with a buddy of mine, Chris Conway, who's a pro tennis player at the time and lifelong skateboarder. Grew up in Ohio, skating Apple Skate Park and stuff. And I used to always skate with him. And in fact, I lived with him in Maine, because he lived right down the street from where the skate park was at Rats in Kennebunkport. And he was the tennis pro for George H.W. Bush.
Yeah, right.
So he would teach George Bush tennis, and then he would come skating with us at night.
That's so funny.
I bet his check was more than $4.80. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Wow.
He's got some fun stories to tell. So he and Chris Miller hit it off, because Chris Miller's a big tennis fan, and Chris Miller loved the vert ramp at Rats.
Yeah.
So he ended up staying and skating that for a while. So when I was making plans to go to California, Chris Conway, my buddy, called up Chris Miller and was like, "Hey, there's this kid. You skated with him once real quick, but he's coming out to California. Can you do me a solid and like pick him up at the airport?" You know.
And this is Chris Miller. Like
Chris Miller. This is like, little dude, eyes like this when I get off the plane in San Diego. Like, first thing I saw is like, you ever been in the airport in San Diego and there's those transitions
out front?
Yeah. I was like, this is paradise.
Yeah, I bet.
There's like, for those that don't know, in San Diego airport terminal, there's pillars that come down and they're just perfectly transitioned into the sidewalk.
Hensley
and
had a
it's just
photo
like,
of them
I mean, that was the first thing you see when you get to San Diego, and you're like,
I'm
amazing.
here. I made it.
I've made it, right.
Were you riding for Who Skateboards back then?
I was riding for Who Skates, which was the company that Chris Conway and the guy that owned Rats, Tom Noble, owned.
Oh,
Rest in peace.
Yep. So I was riding for Who Skates, and Chris Miller picked me up in his Volkswagen bus. He was running Planet Earth at the time, and beep, beep, like, jump in. And I stayed with Chris and his wife and his baby son, Zach.
okay.
And the first night I got there, I'll never forget, they were new parents, right? So they could use any break they could get. And 18-year-old Andy, like, yeah, sure, I'll babysit.
You don't even know this guy.
They're like, peace, take care of Zach, we're out. And they like went out for a date or whatever, and I babysat Zach, and I always make fun of Zach Miller. I used to change your diapers.
Oh my God.
How old is he now? It's got to be like a good...
Zach's a young man. He's 20, 25 or something.
Wow. That's crazy.
Ripping skater.
Did you get paid for babysitting,
I
or
did
was
not.
it?
No, it was.
You were there.
I offered. I was just like, thank God for picking me up and letting me crash at your place, because they didn't know me from Adam. You know, they just knew I was some.
But they let you
kid from the
take
East
care of
Coast.
their baby.
They knew I was friends. They knew I was. I mean, Chris probably knew that I could skate all right. And Chris Conway had vouched for me, so they knew I was friends with Chris Conway, and they knew I could babysit all right.
They said,
they said, you can stay here. They were going out of town that weekend, so they were like, you can stay. It was like a midweek. I must have showed up on like a Wednesday or something. So I stayed with them for a couple nights, and then they dropped me off at the Encinitas skate park.
Okay.
on like a Friday afternoon. And lucky for me, there was a castle contest going on, because I didn't know, like I had literally like a frame pack, and I had like a travel book. This was before the internet, so it was I had like a
Thomas guide type,
like a student travel that like told you where the youth hostels were. And the only youth hostel in San Diego was down in like Chula Vista.
Oh, jeez.
And I was in Encinitas, and I coming from the East Coast, I was like, I'll take the train. Like, whatever. You know, I just figured like public transit.
Yeah.
I didn't know they don't have public transit in San Diego.
Yeah, pretty much.
Pretty much. Like, it would have taken me hours to figure out how to get to the bus to get to Chula Vista. And then I'd be in Chula Vista, and there's like those bumps there to skate, and that's it. Like, there's nothing to skate at the time down there. So that's that's as far as I'd planned it.
Yeah.
But he dropped me off, and I didn't know I was staying that night, but I walk up, and there was a castle contest going on, and I look over, and I see my buddy from Michigan. I used to spend the summers in Michigan skating. And my dad lives in Michigan. My mom lives in Boston.
Gotcha.
So a skate buddy from mine in Michigan, standing in the parking lot, Dave Meddy.
Meddy.
Wow.
He's like, Andy, what the hell are you doing here? I'm like, I just got in town. Like, what are you doing here? He's like, I just moved here. I live at the Blockhead House. Come stay with us. And I was like, all right, come stay at the Blockhead House. So just like happened that
they still have the ramp then?
Dave Meddy and Joe Brook were sharing a room at the Blockhead House.
No way.
And I knew those guys from Michigan. So I stayed on their floor, and they stayed on the couch, and we all crashed there. And then I helped Dave Bergthold put some screws in the Blockhead ramp, and I swept it off every day and skated the Blockhead ramp. And
Wow, dude.
that was my spring break.
You went from nanny to ramp keeper. So that's a great.
Ready,
yeah.
I'll do whatever it takes.
So how did you enter the castle contest, or you just went there to watch?
I didn't even know it was going on.
You stumbled upon it.
Yeah, Chris is like, we're leaving. What do you want to do? And I was like, take me to the skate park. And then he dropped me out, literally like pulled out, slowed down, kicked me out, and that was it. Like, and so Dave Meddy at the time was the filmer for Chris Markovich, and he rode for 101. Wow. And so we would go out and skating, like downtown Encinitas was like the hot spot for street skating back then. Street Life was where McGill's skate shop was, and we'd stop in there. And I remember going and skating with Markovich, and I'm like East Coast. I look like I'm from the East Coast. I probably had like tight, like light blue jeans on, right? Like acid, not quite acid wash, but like it was 1992.
Sure.
Know? So that's what it looked like. And I look over, and Markovich is like, oh, you're going to come street. Yeah, he was super cool. He's like, hey, you're going to come street skating. And we were at Markovich's house. We were getting ready to go street skating. And Markovich was like, hey, come here. Goes over to, he was in T-Bags clothing at the time.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Here, put these on. Then you can go skating.
He made you change your clothes. He made you change.
Yeah,
Gosh.
That's funny.
It was 1992. Everybody had size 40 everything.
That's right.
And I
didn't.
didn't.
Why?
My pants fit.
Was it not just, did it not catch up to the East Coast yet? Or what was the deal?
No,
it was just
it was just starting off that, but we didn't have blind jeans yet, but but soon thereafter I rode for Jobless Clothing, and I remember having size 40 pants.
Now, when you came out here and you were staying with staying with Meddy at the Blockhead House and everything, were you already sponsored at this point, or
just East Coast sponsor? I had like Who Skates, Cockroach Wheels. I guess that's not an East Coast sponsor. But,
Australia, right?
Yeah, Australia.
Huh?
You got an Australian sponsor that?
Yeah, I don't know really how I just.
The wheels look good too.
Around in high school, so my sponsors in high school were like just pretty random. Like somebody hooked me up with Rich Mediver, who was doing Union Wheels at the time.
Union.
So I rode for Union Wheels, and I had a Union beanie, and I went to Newton North, which is like kind of an affluent high school. Like people talk about like, I can't decide between early acceptance between Yale, Princeton, and Harvard. You know, and I was like, I'm going to California, like care less, you know. And I wore a Union hat, and there's a college in New York called Union, and people are like, oh, you got into Union, sick. And I was like, yeah, Union Wheel Company.
Little do you know, I'm about to go be a nanny for Chris Miller.
I was gonna ask though too, like when you were out skating street with these guys, how was that going street skating with like Chris Markovich and stuff?
It was just like eye-popping everywhere. Like being in San Diego was eye-popping, but certainly skating with those guys was eye-popping too, because they were just kind of the laying the groundwork for modern day skateboarding.
Sure.
So whereas I was doing 360 whippets back east, you know, where you just like kick your board around and do a 360 shove it, Markovich was like, no, you got to hit your tail. And I was like, oh, you have to do a pop shove it, which was like kind of new, you know, like everything had to be off the ground. And that was new. Like I can do a big spin. Yeah. Watch this. Shove it, nose drive, back. Like that's how you did a big spin.
Yeah.
And then Markovich was like, no, you got to hit your tail. To do a big spin, you got to pop it, and I was like, I don't know how to. Just like, can we go to the vert ramp yet? You know.
But did you start learning street skating because of those guys? Like,
yeah, I mean, I rode. Eventually, I was on Union Wheels with Markovich. I shot a video part, and you know, like years later, and there's actually a part in my vert part where I'm skating street, and I ollie this gap, and I land, and Markovich is like, "Hey, Macdonald, vert guy," you know. Like,
oh right, yeah.
But yeah, that first time in '92 when I was like still in high school and watching these guys, like they weren't landing it, but Markovich was like trying pop shove it to 50-50 down a handrail. And I was like,
wow,
mind blown. Like, why would you even try that? How is that, you know, even possible? That was like, because no one was flipping in or, you know, like moving their board. Like Marcus Wyndham was like the first guy that did like pop shove it 5-0 grind or whatever.
Wow.
On a short little reel.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did you want to continue?
You may not know him now, but you will someday.
Did you want to try to continue the street skating, or was it, or you were just fully...
I never made a distinction.
No.
Like for me, like growing up in New England, it was skateboarding.
Yeah.
So like my brother got a skateboard the same time I did, and he ollied over a trash can, landed on the side, and it was like, he could ollie higher than anybody in the neighborhood. And it was like, I was just trying to keep up with my brother and his friends.
Gotcha.
And I didn't make a distinction between like, this is street skating and this is ramp skating and this is pool skating. Like the first time I ever did a grind was in the Cambridge pool, which was a 13-foot deep bowl with a kink 3 feet of vert, like this infamous pool. And
would you just scratch it, or did you
I was
really?
I was riding a Veriflex twister board. Didn't have any pads. Didn't know what those were, but I knew where that bowl was because it was right across from Alewife Tea Station. And let's see who was at that session. The first time I did backside grind, I was skating with Kevin Day, Frank Lannon, and Jake Phelps. I don't know if you know that, but Jake Phelps is from Boston originally.
Oh, no.
And even back then, like I would skate with those guys, and even back then, Phelps was like, "You don't party enough. You skate too much." Is that a thing? Can you skate too much? You know,
Right.
Because those guys were just like the gnarly. We're going to punk shows and skating pools and whatever, and they could grind over the death box and roll in, and I was learning a kick turn, you know, little scratcher kick turn backside grind.
I mean, 13 foot. That's
it was intimidating. Intimidating. It was mostly intimidating because it was almost like a wall ride. There was like, you could see a kink around.
Yeah, kind of like bubbled up.
You could feel when you were on vert. So you were like ride this was super mellow, you know, 11-foot transition. Then okay, now I'm on vert. And
there's like two spots that are like almost kind of smooth.
Yeah, there's like 3 people in history that have done the 3-wall frontside grind over the death box. One of them was Felper. One of them was
Julian Stranger.
Oh yeah, did he do it?
I think so.
Frank Lannon, Kevin Day, those guys that skated it all the time. They could do like huge airs.
You never did it.
No, I mean, I went back years later and I could, you know, frontside blunt on the face wall, and I was like, okay, I'm done with this.
That's it.
Front blunt. There you go.
When was the first time that you were actually like, like trying to do like, you know, a 540 or like when? Like
that feeling that I was talking about earlier.
Yeah.
Like that came like. We had an 8-foot quarter pipe in my driveway. Mm-hmm. We wanted a half pipe. We got a bunch of kids after school, literally carried that quarter pipe. Like, it was kind of far. It was probably like 12 or 15 blocks.
It's a long time to be carrying
a quarter pipe down the middle of the street, because the streets were narrow enough, like a car couldn't get by, and we're like, hold on. And then we handed it over a picket fence and dropped it in his yard and built another quarter pipe. So the first half pipe I skated was one that we built, and it was 8 foot wide, 8 foot high.
Oh, wow.
With PVC coping cut in half and nailed onto the top. And it probably was 8 foot transition cut at 8. So it was like not quite a vert ramp, but it looked like a vert ramp. Yeah, Thrasher ramp plants.
Yep.
And that's the ramp that I learned to drop in on. I learned inverts on, like starting halfway up the wall. I learned airs halfway up the wall and worked my way up. So the first time I did airs out was on that ramp.
Oh.
And that's when I started to get the feeling of like, whoa, like you can do an air, and then if you land right, you can do a higher air on the next wall. Yep. And that was like the first time I'm like, this is where it's at, like where you can just start to feel that constant motion. Like once you're really like cranking on a half pipe, it's not like I do a trick and then I think about what next trick I'm going to do. It all becomes one line, you know, like it's like doing a line on street where you're like, I'm going to land because I got to land on this little section and I land with my feet right because I'm a nollie heel flip as soon as I land, that kind of thing. So on a vert ramp, you're going fast enough that when you land, you got to make sure your feet are right to do whatever especially for flip tricks and more technical skating, like there's not a lot of time to be like putting out cigarettes on the flat bottom.
Exactly. right.
It doesn't look very good either. So you got to land right.
When I watch like vert skating, I'm like, how did you guys do like 8 tricks in a row and it's like a nollie heel flip fucking grab or whatever? I'm like, how the fuck are you thinking so fast? Like,
sometimes you land wrong and like I'll do a flip trick and land with my foot, with my toe hanging off. I'm like, oh, heel flip's next because you landed that way. And like rather than having to move my foot to a heel flip position, I'm like, oh, I rode down and I'm set up for it already because I messed up. It's it's ad libbing.
Improv.
Yeah, you're ad libbing a lot, and you have to be able to do that to skate in a contest.
Yeah,
for sure, because it's oftentimes you have a line in your contest run. And the tricks will come if you're set up right, if you have time or if you're high enough or whatever. And otherwise, that was going to be a double kickflip and it was just a kickflip indie, or that was going to be a kickflip melon, but it turned into a kickflip indie because my foot wasn't right or my body wasn't right or whatever. Yeah. You're always making little adjustments.
Right. And then sometimes you're setting up maybe for the third trick or the fourth. You're like, I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to go and bust the.
Yep.
The majority of the contests you've won, has it been like that, or is it you've done the line exactly that you wanted to do?
The times that I've won, it's like it's because I did the run, not necessarily like on the try that I was doing, but I've always been a pretty conservative skater in that I'm not just like I'm gonna try the gnarliest thing, and if I make it, I make it. If I don't, I get last. You know? And that comes from having no money.
I need this.
Yeah,
right.
Basically, like the very first pro contest I skated was Slam City Jam. The first year they did it in 1994, and I was pro for Human Skateboards, and I had enough money to get to the event and share a hotel room, and if I did well enough in that event, I could get to the next event. I could, which was probably like Tampa Pro or whatever. But the first like 3 years of my career, that's my skating in contests was a reflection of wanting to get to the next contest.
Gotcha.
So I knew like, okay, I got to skate this good to get to the finals. That's the top 10. And now if I make this line, which I'm pretty sure I can do this line, usually first try, it's going to put me in the 5th or 6th place range, and I'm going to make $600 to be able to buy a plane ticket and get a hotel for the next event, which is on the tour. Now, if I make that and I can one up myself, and because you usually get 2 or 3 runs, then I started to have the confidence to like go for it more, and like, and that's when I started winning contests. Is when I could like, that became my style, but it wasn't for like thinking about this is going to be how I do it. It was out of necessity. Like
you needed the money.
I need the money. I need the money to get to the next event. And to get to Europe, for the European tour or whatever. So it was like this measured, kind of calculated contest skating.
So you throw down your run that you could do, and then safety run, and then keep going from there.
Yeah, your safety run, and then you use that same line, but now you're throwing in harder tricks within that. And then watch Nigel in a street league event.
There you go.
He does the same exact thing. And he knows, like, if I nollie heel back lip this rail, I'm going to get a 8.75.
Sure.
Right. If I nollie heel varial the back slip, it's going to be a 9.0, and I'll be in the 9 club and be on this TV show.
That's right. That's right. Huh?
He's got it all. He's got it all figured out.
Yeah. And he was on the 9 club. Man. Not only that. But you know what? It's funny because we were talking about the contests and everything, and then you started doing these double contests. We'll get back to California and skating with Markovich and all that stuff. But you started doing these double runs with Tony Hawk, right?
Yeah.
How did that all come up? He said that he did a hand plant off of your ass.
Yes.
Yeah. That's funny. That's what he said, right? He missed your helmet.
We missed a lot of times. Yeah. Trying this. The stacked inverts was one of the scarier things both of us. Either of us have ever done.
How is it when somebody flying over you? Because in my mind, that feeling you get, like if you're kind of in this claustrophobic, you kind of crunch up. Yeah, you crunch up.
Yeah.
Like, are you trying? Like, how do you free yourself? Trusting him,
basically. Yeah, and I mean, it's a knee jerk reaction though. Like the last doubles video that we shot, I wanted to do an invert on Tony since he did one on me last time, and I was like, hey, just just go up and deck a rock fakie and I'll invert on your head.
Okay.
Right? But Tony's over 6 foot tall.
Yeah.
So I got to crank a backside air, right? So I roll in, crank a big backside air, and just have all the trust in the world that he's just, I mean, this is
going to be there.
This thing that hard, right?
Yeah.
But I'm got to go real fast and get upside down 6 feet out. So I have to go like 9 feet, right? To get all the way up. So I'm way out of the ramp, 8 feet, and I go to reach, and Tony does that. He's like, oh!
Yeah,
he thought I was too close, and he crouched down, and now I'm upside down over him, just going, looking for something to grab to get back to my knees. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So it's just like, it's
scary.
It's like, yeah, that's we eventually got it.
Are you more out of control at this point? Because normally maybe you're trying to do like a 540 or 720. You kind of know where your body is, but now you're trying to do this thing.
If you're doing this, if you're doing something where you're meeting the idea,
a
like
movable
any stacked, or Tony and I for years used to try board switches. You know, like we're both going to blast air to fakie, and you're going to throw me your board, and I'm going to throw you your board, and then we'll switch.
And you'll catch it, and then
we've never done it.
Never done it. I could see that happening
because you're on the same plane, you know. So like our boards would hit, or like okay, you shoot your board up, and you pass me your board, and then now you're like, it's just like there's not a lot of time.
How much are you practicing this kind of stuff though? Are you just having fun with them and just like, hey, let's try this?
It was always fun because so Tony and I rode for Airwalk together. For years, all through the mid 90s. And we would do doubles, like just at demos. Like we would do demos, like I could tell you stories about being on the road with Tony for like weeks at a time, like back-to-back demos, like I remember we did one of the first renditions of Board Aid, which was like the first rock and roll skateboard, snowboard benefit concert. It was a benefit for AIDS.
Oh, wow.
And it was in outside of Zurich, Switzerland. So it was Airwalk was a sponsor, and we flew into Zurich, took a train up the mountain, did a demo did some snowboarding that day, did a demo, Run DMC played, and did a demo in this nightclub. And there was so much smoke in the Nights Europe in the 1990s.
Oh yeah,
there was so much smoke in the warehouse that when you stood on this deck, you couldn't see the other deck.
Oh no way!
I mean, it was dark and like strobe lights and everything, but you were like, your eyes were just like burning because there's so much smoke, and you couldn't see if someone was dropping in on the other side. There was that much smoke in the place. Wow, it's awesome. Good times. we left that demo and flew.
There's so much smoke. How can anyone watch you skate?
Yeah,
I know.
It was crazy. Flew straight to from Zurich to Japan for the grand opening of a snowboard. This is when Airwalk was making hard good snowboard. They made the best snowboard boots or whatever. So we did a lot of skateboard, snowboard stuff.
Okay.
So we did the first indoor snowboard hill was opening in Tokyo. We did the grand opening for it. And they put a 12-foot wide, maybe 9-foot high half pipe on the snow in the inside, like where it snows, and it snows twice a day in those things, right?
Inside,
like on the snow. So we did a snowboard demo, and I made Tony go first, and he cased the jump.
Just to test it out a little bit.
It was literally like a jump. There was not a tabletop. It was like a takeoff and a landing, and it was at the bottom where everybody could see it. And you took a chairlift to the top, and you had to straight line from the top to get enough speed to clear this thing.
Good God.
And that was the demo. It was like straight line, jump. Take the lift back up, straight line, jump. And then we did a half pipe demo, and Tony, like I went in, okay, we're going to go skate. And I took off all my snowboard gear, and I had like shorts and knee pads, and like, we're going to go skate. And Tony just left all his snow gear on. It's just like freezing in there. So he went out like with mittens on, just like snowboard gear with pads over his snowboard gear. And I was just like, you're such a wimp, dude. Because I'm New England skateboarder.
Yeah,
like I would just skate it, whatever.
Tony's
and I'm like, you're not going to be able to grab your board, whatever. So we go out there. But this was like where I got a crash course lesson in how to be a professional skateboarder from Tony Hawk, because I was like, do you think it's even possible to do a McTwist on that little tiny ramp? It's 12 foot wide. It's 9 feet high, you know? And Tony's just like, that's what they want to see. And he was like, went out to do it. And sure enough, he did it. He did his 5. And I was like, I guess I got to do my 5 too, and it was just like under the harshest conditions, like that to me became what made you a professional skateboarder. Like that, kids don't care that you sprained your ankle at the last tour stop.
Right.
They want to see what you did in the video and like in the magazine, and do it now,
right.
like
perform.
perform. And that's what I learned from Tony. Like in the harshest conditions, he could always come through and always perform. At one point in that demo, he went up and did a blunt fakie, and his feet just slipped off. And I was like, blunt fakie, whatever. And his board comes on the deck, and I look at his board, and it had been shooting off into the snow, and it got wet, and now it froze, and there was ice on his grip tape. Oh my God. I was just like, God. Tony, demo's over.
I know. I mean, listen, that starts getting dangerous.
Yeah, it was dangerous. It was dangerous. So at that point, the demo was over. We had just done the demo like a day before in Zurich. We went to Japan, did that demo, got on a plane, watched the sunset in Japan, flew, because of the international dateline, flew to San Diego and went straight from the airport to demos at the ASR trade show.
Oh, geez.
And did demos on that ramp.
And when you say was your crash course in pro skateboarding, how was this like your first global tour, or like how did you?
No, this was probably like in the late 90s. So I turned pro in 94. X Games started in 95. So like Tony and I did many years of traveling with Airwalk.
But it suddenly clicked in your mind when he said, "This is what they want to see."
Yeah, I mean, that's one example of like just watching Tony do what he does.
Do his thing. Yeah.
So that's
putting on a show.
He taught me a lot about what it meant to be a professional.
It's crazy.
To be a professional skateboarder, and they're not always one and the same. There's lots of pro skaters.
Yeah.
There's fewer professional skateboarders that are like, the demos this time, you're going to be there at this time.
Yeah, totally.
Like whether you like it or not, these kids look up to you. So you better set a good example.
Right.
And a lot of pro skateboarders are just like, I didn't sign up for that. You don't have to look at do it like I do it or whatever. But
sure.
Like, whether you like it or not, that's the deal.
Yeah.
It comes with the job. Like people are going to try and emulate you because you are who you are and you've done what you've done. So you can take heed to that or not, Yeah. And in my eyes, if the people that do are professionals, they're pro skateboarders because they realize that they have an influence. Like it or not, ask for it or not, you have an influence. And if these people are paying you, from whatever sponsorships or demos or whatever, they're not paying you just to be you and do however you do. They're paying you to do a job.
Right.
Even though that job is super fun, and you can do it kind of as creatively and however as you want. Yeah. But people are expecting that you're going to, do what you said you were going to do.
They don't want to see Tony Hawk do a, 50-50.
Tony showed up and did sweepers the whole time. It was terrible.
Yeah, right. Damn, man.
Yep.
Let's super interesting, man. Let's go back to
let's take a licorice break.
Go ahead, take a licorice break, bro.
Down for that.
It's red vines. Oh yeah, right. You know what?
Come on, dude. I mean,
since
let me explain.
Go ahead.
Being an East Coaster, did you grow up on Twizzlers?
Pretty much,
Twizzlers is not.
Twizzlers aren't. Yeah, they're like, it's like plastic, and I didn't know what red vines were until I came to the West Coast because it's a West Coast company.
Okay.
For a long time, you couldn't get red vines east of the Mississippi.
Right.
And then I came here and I was like, this is what licorice is supposed to taste like, and I've been a huge red vines fan.
Twizzlers is like, it's got that weird coating on it. It makes your hands all like slippery. It's really bizarre.
So if you ever go to the Hershey factory,
I'll grab one.
Get there.
All right, I got you.
Oh wow,
dude! Whoa!
I'm talking about.
Bro, thank you.
Damn, you got a good arm on you, bro.
Do you use these as straws?
Of course, man. Well, while we're on the red vine situation, you've had some interesting sponsors, to say the least.
Yeah.
We're talking about like Sobe, we're talking about Patagonia, we're talking about what else? Cliff Bars.
Dude, Patagonia, that's a good one.
Now, I need your agent's number because these are some great sponsors, man. And you're talking about you were Red Vines for a while too, and Skittles.
I got paid to eat licorice for 2 years. It's probably good that they let my contract run out because I was up to a pack a day, and that would be my lunch a lot of days, like a pack of licorice and a Cliff Bar, and like on the way to the ramp.
When they see a box, how many would you get?
They would just like trays come in like boxes of 30. Mm-hmm. So I would get like stacks of boxes on my porch, like this high, just like trays and trays and trays.
Now, how are you getting all these?
Because I'm a connoisseur. Like you can go into a 7-Eleven and you squish down on the and you can tell if they're fresh or not.
Mm-hmm,
so like
Mike Sinclair likes to put them in the window of his van and let them get all hard.
Get it? See, my wife likes them hard too. Like they're stale essentially.
Yeah, pretty much.
Because I like them fresh, and they would send them to me like the day they made them from the factory. Like I was trying to convince the marketing guy, like, let me come up and skate the factory, and I'm sure there's like some kind of extrusion machine where it just like comes out. And I just want to like put my face.
But it's like you go to the Krispy Kreme place, and when they come out of the thing,
it's like that.
Now, how are you getting all these sponsors, bro? I mean, Patagonia. Listen, what a great sponsor to have.
Yeah,
Let me tell
totally.
you.
Seriously.
They're a great company, man. They're just like as I've gotten older and like the longer I've been doing this, the more I've been able to kind of pick and choose who I want to represent.
Sure.
And it only comes across as more genuine when you're really into that brand. That,
I mean, you're eating red vines on the Nine Club.
We're talking about like, I don't even ride for red vines anymore. I'm flow. I'm just
Flow now.
Flow red
Right,
vines.
okay.
But I'm still a huge red vine fan. I love eating red vines.
Sure.
So it comes across, like it doesn't
Totally.
matter. Like, so people, it's
You're not
it's not
forcing
like,
it.
yeah, I'm not
Yeah.
forcing it. And that comes across. So, the same thing with, Patagonia. I was riding for Airwalk for 25 years, and I was always head to toe Airwalk.
Sure.
And I knew the guys at Patagonia, and they would send me like shorts and whatever, but I couldn't rock a Patagonia shirt for the longest time because it was Airwalk.
Yeah.
And then once Airwalk just a couple of years ago went away, I called up Patagonia. I was like, I can rock it. Like, I don't even care. I can do it billboard style,
Yeah.
hat, whatever, all the way down to underwear and socks. And they're a great company, and they share a lot of my political beliefs.
Okay.
Mostly about my beliefs about the environment and global warming, and
Gotcha.
and they put their money where their mouth is.
Wow.
They went all organic for all their cotton is organic since the 1980s. Like,
Oh, wow.
1986 or something. Patagonia was like, screw any cotton that's not or all organic, because
Okay.
we're killing the earth with all
Sure.
the pesticides, whatever. The Trump administration just gave the big tax credit, whatever. So big companies got like millions of dollars in tax credits. The guy that owns Patagonia took his $10 million that he got in tax credits because he can write off. It's totally legal because that's what Trump thinks is the thing to do. And he's like, we're going to take the $10 million we saved and we're donating it to all these environmental.
It's amazing.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
they're
Love
just
that.
like, they're legit.
So you could really get behind a company like
Yeah.
that. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. For sure.
Like Cliff Bar I've been with for years,
That's right.
and they're a co-op. All the employees of Cliff Bar own a part of the company.
Seriously.
So the turnover rate at Cliff Bar is like, if you get the job at Cliff Bar, you don't leave.
Yeah.
It's just like, this is where you
You're a
want to
lifer,
work.
yeah.
They have a all LEDs, like LEED certified building. So it's all solar powered and like green roof and just
Wow.
like legit.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So I'd go up to like the Cliff Bar Summit, the athlete summit, and I'm like the one skateboarder, like I'm hanging out with, literally like skate up the morning of the summit, and these guys come running up. And I'm like, all right, yeah. Oh, you guys just went for a run, right? Yeah, I did a marathon this morning. What? yeah. They're like ultra marathoners.
Yeah.
So for them to run 26 miles, like
It's
on the
nothing.
way to work, is like, yeah, that's what they do. Because they're ultra marathoners. They run like 100-mile races.
Dude, that's
We're just like
insane.
running in the middle of the night across the desert with a headlamp. Just like,
I get tired when my phone rings in the next room and I got to run in there.
That's crazy.
yeah. So they're all talking about like what your body needs and processes and blah blah. I'm like, this carrot cake tastes good.
Yeah.
Just like,
Pretty good.
and I
White
keep it
chocolate
in my skate
macadamia.
bag. Yeah,
Oh,
That's
exactly.
my favorite flavor.
The white chocolate macadamia. Oh, I love it.
Oh, it's
Love it.
legit. Yep.
What's your favorite flavor?
Carrot cake and Sierra Trail lately.
Sierra Trail.
Sierra Trail is just like one of the classics. But we'd go up there for the summer and we would like go in the kitchen and like we'd get to make our own flavors and stuff. Like
Seriously?
mix stuff up and just to try. They're always like trying new flavors, trying new stuff. But after signing a non-disclosure, like this is where the secrets are.
Sure,
you know,
of
like,
course. Have you ever said like, hey, man, I think Red Vine would be pretty good in
Yeah,
the
yeah,
Cliff
we could just
Bar.
wrap
It
it
would be, collab. How about that?
Has a brand ever approached you and you're just like, no, I can't do it?
Yeah. BMW
Really?
years ago when the X5 came out, they wanted me to like, here, we'll give you a free lease. Drive this around.
Andy, what are you
Sorry,
doing?
dude, I got a rep to obtain.
You,
know?
but I mean, BMW's a great. You're not. You
BMWs,
don't like it.
I drive a Honda Civic.
Honda Civic.
Yeah, I've like since the early '90s when everybody drove a Honda. Civic.
Yeah, they.
Like,
Yeah.
Rob Deerdick and Kane Gale and all the Alien Workshop guys lived
It
in
was the skate
Pacific
car.
Beach. Yeah, it was the skate car.
It was.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And I had one of those, and I'm on my fourth one of those.
Wow, that's
And they've all gone over 200,000 miles, and
I mean,
Honda's
right.
really good.
They
They're
are
great
good
cars.
cars.
I bet
Yeah.
so I
Three of them,
just
yeah.
the
yours a
Honda
Civic?
the Honda Civic that I drive has over 200,000 miles on it. I got it for my 30th birthday. And then I just bought a new car. I bought a Honda Pilot.
Oh, the
'Cause I-
SUV
'cause I-
thing.
Yeah.
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 Do you ever call Honda?
There's 7 kids in my carpool and it seats 8. So
Chris was asked before, like, has anyone reached out to Honda?
Yeah.
Are you trying reaching out to Honda at all?
I mean,
that's a dream one right there.
That is a dream one. I would love to ride for Honda.
I mean, but listen, I mean, like turning down a free car is pretty. I mean, you gotta.
No, now looking back on
heavy.
it now, I'd probably have done it.
Right.
This was like 2003, 2004. You could probably look up when the X5 came out or whatever.
Yep.
But I was like, I don't need an SUV. I don't have kids, whatever. Like, I don't need to be polluting the environment that much to drive an SUV around. I don't need a luxury car.
Gas prices.
Gas. And this was before $4 gasoline or whatever.
Sure.
But it was also at a time in skateboarding where I was like I was making a good living. You know, like, and I could pick and choose what I wanted to do for, like around that time I had, 2004, I had just written a book. I had a signature line of clothing, my own signature line of shoes at Payless Shoes through Airwalk.
Wow.
I had a signature board through Pal Peralta, Penny Mac boards. And people were like, I was turning down demos and like, there was too much to do. There was like I had a personal assistant. I had a PR company that worked for me. I just like, I couldn't answer the fan mail fast enough. So it was just like that time in skateboarding for me was just like the pinnacle of, so when BMW called, I was like, I don't get time.
I don't have time for this.
Wow.
Around that time, I got a call. My agent got a call about doing a bar mitzvah.
Seriously, you were getting called for birthday parties and bar mitzvahs.
2, and I ended up doing 2. I did a birthday party in Boca Raton. And because my agent was like, yeah, no, Andy doesn't do birthday parties.
Yeah, what do you want?
And this guy's rich dad from Boca Raton, Florida was like, well, what's his international demo rate? I'll pay it.
Yeah, right.
And my agent was just like, hey, I set you up and you're going to laugh, but he's paying this rate, So it was like 20 grand to go hang out with this kid for his
Did you have to sing?
Birthday. I didn't have to sing. I don't know. We probably sang because he had it. I showed
you didn't have
up.
to get on the mic in front of everybody.
No, it was literally like I was between events. And I mean, this was like, I was on the road 10 months out of the year. I was doing a book tour. I was doing the Payless Shoes, launch.
Okay.
And then all the skate tour. And this is like, there was X Games had like 4 different events. Do Tour had 5 events plus all the international stuff. And it was just like constant. Yeah. So I flew in a red-eye flight into Boca Raton, Florida, and showed up at this kid's house, like just knocked on the door, like,
I love this.
Like, happy birthday, little Joey. And he was just like, Tom Cruise is here.
That must be pretty bizarre. I mean, this kid wanted you at his birthday party, for God's sakes. You know what I mean? That's pretty amazing.
We can tell stories for sure.
Yeah.
We did a bar mitzvah in Israel, and they flew us to Israel, put us up for a week, me and my wife.
Wow.
And the kid, it's his 13th birthday, right?
Yeah.
It's a big deal, whatever. Sure. It's bar mitzvah, and they must have spent $500,000 on this bar mitzvah. They built on the lakefront. They built a halfpipe and all the staging that walked up to it, and an outdoor music venue and restaurant, all catered. Wow. Our halfpipe show was just like part of the evening event. But we all got paid. It was me and Dennis McCoy. It was one skateboarder, one BMXer, one inliner.
Did the kid even skate, or this was just a part of? It was like a show.
He didn't come and skate with us.
No,
this was part of his show.
Thing.
Yeah, like this was.
Isn't that crazy? What people spend money on.
And how much money they spend.
I'm sure.
It's just crazy.
I mean, they got to fly you in and do all the and put you.
And me and my wife and put us up all week, and we made a tour because I was at a contest in Moscow. So my wife and I flew to Moscow. Hung out. I bought a ticket on my miles for Mickey Vukovic, who used to live in Russia and speaks Russian. So him and his wife, I got them tickets, and we hung out in Moscow. Went and saw the Bolshoi Ballet, and he was our translator. Did the whole thing. Yeah. And then we flew to. Then we went to Jerusalem because we hadn't seen it, and Egypt, and saw the pyramids and everything, and then went to the bar mitzvah. And
man, I've always wanted to see the pyramids, man.
It's cool.
Is it cool?
Yeah.
Did you climb any? Did you get up there? And
you can climb all up in there. If you tip the guys out, they'll show you like the secret rooms, and
really?
Yeah, you can fully get it in there and like.
In the
like
tomb,
the mummy
like
and
that?
stuff. Yeah, totally. Because all the tombs are empty. They've already,
of course.
They've emptied all the jewels out. Those are
trippy,
those are in the Cairo Museum. which is a trip in itself because there's so much of it. Like you're walking around the Cairo Museum and there's these artifacts that are just like, if they were in a museum in America, there would be like a glass case around or whatever.
But they're just there.
And there it's just like next to the vacuum cleaner. You know, it's just like, it's just like laying around, you know.
I can imagine the feeling you get when you see these big pyramids out there, and it must be.
It was surreal,
quite
like
surreal,
The interesting part, though, and the kind of the downer is that like you take a cab out to Giza or whatever, and if you're looking at the Sphinx, if you're standing here looking at the Sphinx and the pyramids of Giza behind you or in front of you, if you spin a 180. There's a Kentucky Fried Chicken.
Oh, directly behind you.
Directly behind.
They don't show that on the
the cameras only go one way. But if you take a 360 view of that area, like the town grew and it came right up to Giza, and they were like, okay, that's good. So you can sit and eat Kentucky Fried Chicken,
KFC,
and look at the
Colonel's secret recipe, right there in the museum.
It's kind of like, but
so. Let's go. We were talking about Chris Markovich staying out there and skating street with those guys and doing all that. Getting a taste of that. Were you now well on your way? Were you just like, these guys are doing it here. The 101, all this stuff. I can get there.
No.
You weren't even thinking that when
the wake up call for me there was like, New England kid, all I know about California is what I see in magazines and maybe the videos, Plan B videos and whatever. It doesn't really give you a lot about what the skate culture is in California. And at the time in the early 90s, skateboarding was dead. Yeah. And you had to have a certain look. You had to have certain tricks. You had to have there were so few people doing it. And it was such like a niche, So within skateboarding, there was like the cool way to do it, right? And I wasn't it. No, it was like, and seeing that, I wasn't about to try to become it because it would be completely, fake, and you would be able to see it a mile away.
Gotcha.
Like everybody's doing pressure flips, dude. You better get your pressure flips on. I still can't do a pressure flip.
No,
it's terrible.
Right. There's no sense in learning now.
I remember going to Rats back then, and like street course would be filled with kids, and you'd be the only one on the vert ramp.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I've been lucky enough that I've kind of clawed my way to a career that's been without having to compromise who I am, or what I always thought was fun and what skateboarding was to me.
Right.
And so lucky for me that I've been able to make a living doing it. And that's like we started to talk about, like some of the sponsors I've had. Like I was the first skateboarder to have a drink sponsor through Sobe Beverages.
Right.
My manager happened to live or work down the street in Connecticut, where Sobe headquarters were, and he would go by all the time. And they were like doing like mountain bike team sponsor or whatever, but action sports wasn't even really a thing yet. It was still called extreme sports, whatever. And he would go and be like, you guys need to get in on this action sports thing, blah, blah. And for 2.5 years, we just kept harping and bugging on, like, you got to get it. You got to do it. You got to do it. This is where it's going. And X Games had started and whatever. And then finally they're like, all right, let's try it. Let's try. And I showed up at the first event with Sobe across my helmet, drinking it. And people were like, you sell out, you fucking blah, blah, blah. Just I got the wrath of skateboarding because what does Sobe have to do with skateboarding? Nothing. But you skateboard and you get thirsty and it's juice. I'm buying it. I'm drinking it anyways. It's yummy. I like the cranberry grapefruit, and now I don't have to buy it.
The check's not bad either.
Exactly.
So
you were like the first person. So I rode for Sobe for 10, 12 years or something, and then now like. Who are you if you don't have a drink sponsor?
Oh yeah, I mean, look at the Red Bull, whatever, Monster.
Yeah. We had a sick team too. It was myself, and once they like kind of bought on, I rode for them by myself for years. But once it kind of became a thing, Ryan Scheckler was my teammate. Mike Valley was my teammate. Jamie Bestwick.
Wow,
we had a sick team. Oh, and how am I blanking on Travis Pastrana?
Travis.
Oh wow,
they were all Sobe original Team Sobe riders.
How did you feel though when you said you got the wrath of like, well, here it is on my helmet, I got the sticker, I'm now support, and then people were giving you hell for that? Did that hurt inside, or were you just like, you know what, I'm doing my thing, guys?
I mean, if I had taken all that, it's like today on the internet, like you don't read the comments because you can't take that shit. It's just just trolls, like if Tony Hawk had to read all the troll comments about how much he was a sellout for doing a milk commercial or whatever, like you'd never, and that's all you would do.
Yeah.
So, I mean, from the get-go, from before there was even that kind of stuff, there was like Jake Phelps. When I was like the first year I skated, Jake was harping on me because I didn't party enough. Like I never drank, I never smoked, right? I never have tattoos to this day. And like, you're a skateboarder and you don't have tattoos, like you're a skateboarder, you don't drink, you don't smoke. Like I've never taken a drag off a cigarette.
Right.
That's not a skateboarder in a lot of people's minds. That's not what skateboarding is, but it is to me.
Sure.
And it's just interesting because no matter how radical the group is, when you stray from the norm, you're going to see hard times.
Yeah.
And the norm in skateboarding was that you had tattoos and you partied and you raged, and I didn't.
Yeah.
So I was labeled like, you take this too seriously. You're a trainer. Like that's like essentially where the term came from.
And now you got this drink sponsor.
I wasn't training. I wasn't. I always eat junk food. I wasn't like training and taking care of my body and lifting weights. I never go to the gym. It's the most boring thing in the world. But I skate 8 hours a day if I can. Absolutely. I skate as much as I can. And
look at these kids nowadays. All they do is...
And now everybody has a TF.
Yeah.
Everyone's got their own personal training facility, and it's like, okay.
Right.
But back then it was like, my first interview was Thrasher magazine. It was right when Mike Burnett came aboard, and it was about that. It was like Mike did the interview, and he's like, I'm gonna read back to you these accusations that people have made of you.
Okay.
And you have to defend yourself. That was the interview.
That was really?
Wow.
And so like the outtake quote was like, because I just had fun with it. Like, you're a trainer. I was like, yeah, dude, I run 5 miles a day and
you totally
a dozen, I eat a dozen raw eggs and run 5 miles a day. And that was like the outtake quote.
Oh, wow.
You totally just like
sarcastic.
Yeah, sure.
Just had fun with
trainer.
it.
Yeah, but whatever you want to believe, dude.
That's pretty fun. I mean, you got to have a little thick skin. I mean, especially being in the public eye too.
Yeah.
You got to have that thick skin, like you said, the comments and everything. But I could imagine, from your peers and stuff to get that must have hurt, a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, like we were talking about before the show started, to me, if it's genuine,
sure,
I could care less what other people think about it.
Go.
Like if I was like rocking Miller beer sponsor and
you don't drink at all,
and I was just like, yeah, it's great, love this stuff. Like you'd be able to see through that, and call me a sellout because I would be.
You would totally.
But if I'm chowing on red vines and I'm drinking a Sobe because I'd be doing it anyways, then in my like I built my whole career on kind of marrying that, being that bridge between the corporate world that the non-endemic world has nothing to do with skateboarding and skateboarding, because I've always had skateboard sponsors as well, starting with Flight and Jobless and whatever. Eventually, my dream sponsor, Powell Peralta. That there's, as far in my eyes, as core as you can get. George Powell's been cobbling skateboards for 40 years, and he makes the best ones there are: wheels, bearings. And he's not a marketing company. He's like, they're terrible at marketing, but they make the best stuff. They
were great when Stacy and Craig were there.
Yeah, they were a great marketing company in the 1980s when we all started skateboarding. Yeah. But they make the best stuff. Like people can. I ride for these bearings, but when
everyone
you actually
Swiss.
let me see your board.
Yeah, for sure.
They all ride Swiss because Swiss are the best bearings. They're the only bearing that's made for skateboarding. It's
crazy.
All the other bearings are electric motor bearings.
Vacuum bearings,
I was gonna ask something too. How did would you have for movie tickets?
That's right.
Yeah.
How did that come about?
MovieTix.com started in the BMX world because their CEO is a BMX fan, and so I had a couple of BMX friends that rode for movie tickets, and I was just like, "You get free movies? Like that's the coolest thing ever!" Like this guy Mike Spinner is the first guy to do a 1080 on a bike over a jump, and I done demos and skated contests, and got to remember at the time, like every contest you went to was a bike skate inline contest, right? So I just started talking to Spinner. I was like, hey, they want to expand the program and have a skater. And, Mike introduced me to him, and I just like, I'm pretty persistent when it comes to just knocking on the door. Like, I like movies.
Are you being the persistent one, or is it a manager, or is it both?
It's both. I mean, I don't have a manager anymore. But I'll work with people that, want to, like right now I'm working on a deal, and my literary agent brought it to me. He brought the deal, and I'm like, yeah, sure. You can have a percentage of what, if it becomes anything.
Sure.
He's the one that shot my book to Simon & Schuster. And if you can do that, if you can, what I write in a book, you can probably do it.
Right.
But a lot of it was, to answer your question, was like, I would like, knock on the door, and like this one was in this particular case, it was through a guy that was already riding for them. And so it was like, well, who's running the program? Oh, it's just the CEO likes BMX. So I'm the only guy that rides for him. I was like, okay, well, introduce me,
Yeah.
and then it was like me pitching. I'm like, hey, if you want to expand this, we could get more BMXers, and let's get some skaters. And I know a guy that would be great for managing this. So after I rode for him for a couple of years, my buddy Chris Conway came in as a brand manager.
Oh, wow.
And he built the program even bigger, and was
not
like,
only are you getting hooked up, you're hooking up
like,
other people for work.
Yeah, so
and
like
stuff.
he was the one that was like years ago was like, girls skateboarding is the next big thing. Like Nora, who's been on this show, who's from Boston. She wrote for movietickets.com. Samaria Brevard, movie tickets girl. We took her on the first time she'd ever been on an airplane was on a movie tickets tour. We did.
No way. You go with her movie ticket tours? Are you going? What movies are you going to go watch?
But that's what you do. You just do like that was our job. That was the best part about being a movie tickets rider. Is you would just get a card that like you just throw down, and it's like basically a gift card.
If you wanted to bring all of us to the movie,
that's what I would do. We'd be hanging out at dinner and be like, hey, what are you guys doing tonight at a contest or whatever? Like I would take like 15, 20 guys to the movies, buy them all popcorn, and just be like, yeah. Or you would like plan it. If you're just at home and there's nothing, your job is to go to the movies, and talk about it, social media, whatever.
Yeah, of course.
So like the night that the new Godzilla movie came out, we took everybody to sushi because it's Japan.
Sure.
And then we went and saw Godzilla.
I mean, movies are expensive, bro.
Yeah. But there again, like we were talking about, there was definitely haters to the dying day. They don't do the action sports program anymore. They got bought by Fandango like last year or whatever.
They stopped doing it.
And they stopped doing it. But to its dying day, as much as everybody loves movies and goes, and I get to see, there's people like movie tickets sell out, whatever, because it's just easy to do, right? They don't.
Well, there's a weird transition. You're like the first one to really start doing that.
Yeah.
And
that's just the deal. Is like the very first guy through the door always. But I think a lot of it is like I'm that clean cut. Like I had an article in Sports Illustrated. It was called Mother Approved. Like, because
that was the title.
That was the title.
That was the title.
Like, yeah, and they were like basically holding me up as compared to like Tuss Pappas.
Oh yeah,
It's like here's the yin and the yang of skateboarding. And there's quotes from Tuss, and Tuss is like, I'm not really feeling that, dude.
Yeah.
Of course you're not. Like,
totally
that's not what skateboarding is to you,
right?
And this is what it is to me. So, like, a story I'd like to tell is in that vein, like. I was the first celebrity athlete, anything endorsement of Amazon.com.
Seriously?
They've never had anybody represent that brand. And through 10, 12 years of working with Amazon, originally through an adult pogo stick that I was working on.
It was it's a gnarly thing. You could jump over a house with those things.
Jump like 6 feet on the thing. So through that, they were sold on Amazon. I met somebody at Amazon and started talking with them and like, hey, you guys ever think about selling skateboards, whatever? Got them to sell the first skateboards ever. They were my skateboards, the Andy Mac brand on Amazon. And there soon followed all the Powell products and whatever. And then soon followed all the Real products and all the other brands started selling on Amazon. Yeah. And that went on for like 10 years before they just actually, because you used to get skateboards on Amazon.com next to the baseball gloves and the fishing rods, right? It was just like the same, right? It was sporting goods section of the page. And then when we started selling the Andy Mac brand on there, I was like, hey, hire me to help you build an action sports part of you because skateboarders don't want to buy fishing rods so much. There should be skateboards next to skateboard stuff.
There you go.
And so I helped them build out their action sports page and made sure that they were using the right terminology and whatever. So I rode for Amazon for 2 years before
love this.
Before it was
a smiley sticker on your board?
I had it on my helmet.
Yeah, you okay.
Amazon smile on my helmet. But there was a press release, and they were going to release the press release. It was the day before my first competition day at X Games. This was probably like one of the last days of X Games in LA. So like 2012 or 13 or something. And they wouldn't go live with the press release because I hadn't done a background check yet. And they were like, you have to take a background check or you're can't ride for us, whatever.
Approved.
Like, yeah.
Look at the article.
So I had to get online and do a background check. And if anything had come up, if I had been arrested for trespassing for skateboarding, no deal.
No deal.
What? And this was like it was a good deal.
Good deal.
Yeah.
I bet.
Amazon's got, I was getting paid, and I was like, and I passed the test, whatever. I got my background check, and I was thinking like, there's not a lot of other skateboarders that probably would have passed that background check.
I mean,
if I had done any illegal drugs, if I had done,
but even trespassing,
trespassing.
I mean, we get tickets for it all the time.
Yeah, why skate in skate parks, bro?
Trust me, I'm about to switch up my whole thing. Man, Amazon.
I think about that all the time. Like Naja driving these $300,000 cars, pulling up and then hopping a fence, and like,
sure,
yeah, that's pretty awesome.
Oh yeah. And this wasn't even that long ago. What'd you say? 2012, 2013?
Yeah.
Are you still with Amazon?
No, because once
these deals run out.
Yeah, and Amazon's so corporate. It was like in the 2 years that I rode for them, the buyer switched like 5 times. Oh. So the people that were buying my product, that we were like, because once the original buyer that helped push the deal through,
sure,
we were all in. Like we were like flew them out to Powell and like showed them a good time, whatever, and like call them up 2 weeks later and like, yeah, they moved sideways in the company and there's this new guy now. And you're just like,
all this work
start all over.
Did.
Right.
Yeah.
So anytime you have you definitely have to have patience for that kind of
world.
Yeah. But at the same time, it's like, it's obviously like people, you can buy skateboards on Amazon.com now, and that's a good thing. Like a lot of companies, you ask them what their biggest account is, it's probably Amazon.
Yeah. Online world's crazy.
I helped launch a brand of toy brand through Lego. Andy. Called Bionicle.
How are you good?
Do you remember Bionicle?
No.
It was like this was late 90s. I was riding for Powell, and Lego was launching a new toy like division called Bionicle. It was like this hero-based building blocks, but not blocks. They were like more action figure type things. And I launched. They won awards for their design and whatever, as Lego does. But I got to go, Legoland California had just opened, and I got to go after hours and like skate through I skated down San Francisco in the mini Legoland. Like we did.
You have to put big wheels on?
Me and Rhino had a photo shoot in Legoland. It was awesome.
Insane. But it's bumpy, right?
The actual road is like smooth,
okay.
and then all the buildings were built out of actual
Sounds to me
Legos.
like you're a hustler, bro.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you really get down in there, you get these deals, which is amazing. Kids nowadays, they love these deals, man. And plus you got a family, bro.
That's how I feed my kids.
What's the biggest deal you've ever gotten, bro? What's the biggest
You ever get a $1 million payout?
No, there was a time in my career where I was making $1 million a year, but it wasn't from one.
Yeah.
It was accumulation and everything.
It was like from demos and
you good
contests.
Money, you good money saver. You good with the books and everything.
I've done it right. I'm not making near the money now that I was.
Well, that's what I'm saying. If you save up and invest, maybe
I invested pretty good.
Good. Yeah.
So I own a house. I own a car. 3 kids, and everything I have is because of skateboarding.
Yellow helmet. Let's talk about the yellow helmet, shall we?
Shall we?
Why the yellow helmet? Now, I have my own theories.
Interesting to hear the theory.
Well, my theory is that, to be seen. You wanted to stick out in the crowd, and having this yellow helmet really
stand out.
Yeah,
you stand out.
That is definitely the effect.
Okay.
It was not the means. I wasn't like set out to like, I'm gonna wear a yellow helmet, and it's gonna be a thing.
People are gonna see me. Right.
I didn't have that kind of foresight.
No.
It was Chris Miller, who we've talked about, told stories to. I used to emulate Chris Miller because of how great a skateboarder he was.
Amazing.
And
still is.
Later, what a great guy he was, because he didn't know me from Adam, and he picked me up at the airport, and
there you go.
I'm indebted to him to this day for that. But he used to wear a yellow helmet in the 1980s when he was pro for Planet Earth, and that's where the yellow helmet came from. Is I wore a yellow helmet because Chris Miller did.
Then that's it.
And that's it. And so in like around the turn of the century. Makes me feel real old when I say it like that.
I know. I was like, whoa.
Around the turn of the century, I started wearing a yellow helmet. I think the first like real footage I had was doing the Swatch jump, the world record jump. I was wearing a yellow helmet. And soon thereafter, I rode for ProTech. And soon thereafter, ProTech was like, we're going to do signature helmets. Everybody pick a color. And I got that email late or something. So like guys already picked blue and black and white and whatever. And so you can have green or purple or yellow for your signature color.
And you
already
wearing
wearing yellow. So I was like, I got yellow. So your signature helmet was your signature color. And it came with a pack of stickers from all your sponsors.
Oh.
That's what made your helmet on ProTech your signature helmet.
Okay.
So mine was yellow.
You just ran with it.
And I just ran with it. And I've since got switched helmet sponsors. And when I got a new helmet sponsor, I was like, hey, if you really want to have an impact, I'll switch. I'm not attached to yellow. I just happened to be wearing one. I had been wearing one with ProTech for 4 or 5 years at the time or something.
Right.
Let's switch and people will notice. Right?
Sure.
And so I switched and they gave me like, I picked like olive drab or something, like an army green helmet or something, right? And I showed up that year at X Games. My doubles partner, Tony Hawk, is on the deck, and I showed up for doubles practice, and I skated right by him on the deck. And I was like, Tony.
He didn't even see you.
He didn't even know. He couldn't see me because I wasn't wearing a yellow helmet. Oh, Andy, what are you doing? Like, where's your helmet? Like, whatever. So, yeah, eventually it came back. I just got I started working with 888 helmets.
Okay.
And I know now, I'm just like, because eventually like my fans were just like, what the hell? Where's the yellow helmet? Like you have to wear a yellow helmet, whatever, to the point where I started riding for 888 and they made a yellow helmet, but it was like this kind of mustardy yellow, it was yellow.
Oh, it wasn't.
So this year at the X Games, I was wearing that like mustard yellow helmet or whatever. And I rolled up on the deck and Bucky Lassick was like, it's up to your helmet. That's not your yellow.
Yeah, right. Like your own, like you have your own Pantone.
This
is the
literally
right
yes. That's the Pantone. Literally, like I have a Pantone.
You have a Pantone.
It's not called Andy Mac yellow helmet, but
Yeah.
But yeah, when I got on 888, I was like, I'll send you the Pantone. You got to make me some helmets like this, and then I'll ride for you. Great. So
that's the demand. That's great.
Amazing, dude.
That's cool.
I didn't mean for that to happen.
You didn't mean for it, yeah.
But yeah, the result is that like when I was on skating in televised contests, and my mom, like who never watches TV,
she knew
can turn it on. Like there's my son.
There's your son. Yeah.
So that became the default answer when everyone was like, "Why do you wear a helmet?" So my mom can tell it's me on TV.
Okay,
that's why.
Yep.
Yeah, because the bright colors they stand out more. That's why I thought maybe he wears a yellow helmet to stand out in the crowd.
Pink back in the day.
What?
Like Jimmy Floyd rocking pink back in the day.
That's right. People, but it became
Tony Hawk rocking pink. That was more an '80s thing.
Yeah. I mean, Tony Hawk didn't even recognize you.
Kevin Staub to this day.
Just punk rock is going to be.
Just still wearing
every color possible.
Purple. He rides for 888 too. His signature's a green, but it matches his hair. Green hair.
Do you get royalties from the helmet? I mean, you must sell a lot of.
I don't have a signature helmet deal with 888. Just starting out, but I got a.
Yeah,
but I should if they do a yellow in my yellow.
But I feel like
Your yellow, I love that, dude.
But I feel like ProTech, that would be like the. You rode for him for a long time.
Yeah. And when I did, that was my signature helmet, and that graduated to like when I started doing all the Andy Mac brands.
Yeah.
I had an Andy Mac brand ProTech set.
Oh yeah.
It was like Andy Mac pads and helmet, and came with.
Oh, you had a whole starter kit.
Yeah. You could. There was a time where you could get, and like Adam Taylor told me that he has footage of himself skating in like all Andy Mac.
No way.
Gear. Yeah. And he works. Ironically, he works for 888. Who owns 187 pads now too. So
okay.
Yeah, he's like, I got footage of me skating in Andy Mac pads and
that's
yellow
funny.
helmet and
what were they were selling those.
But that was the deal. There was a time when you could get, for the cost of a $60 skate shoe, you could get 2 pairs of Andy Mac shoes for like $30 each.
Wow.
At Payless, and then you could get the Andy Mac board that Powell made as a complete.
Oh wow.
For like $60 on Amazon. Maybe it was like $70 or something, but it's like the same board that I'd be riding on street. Like when we designed it, I was jumping downstairs over and over trying to bend the trucks, and like it's basically mini logo
trucks.
Well, yeah. Level gear, but we took enough out of it that like, hey, little Joey who's just getting a skateboard for the first time doesn't have to have trucks that are gonna like. He only weighs 80 pounds.
Sure.
But they have to be able to turn,
Of course.
So if they work for me, jumping down sets of 12 over and over, then they're going to work for little Joey.
Right.
Because the alternative at the time was like Spider-Man board.
Right.
And little Joey's like good enough that he can go to the skate park and learn to drop it on the mini ramp, and he can't turn.
But then after that,
or the wheels don't roll him across to the other side. Like, and he's not having a good first experience on a skateboard. And I was like, I want to change that. I want your first experience to be a good experience.
I asked Chet Thomas a similar question about Darkstar, making boards for Target or wherever else. Right. And it's pretty much the same answer. It's like he wanted to make sure a kid who bought that board is going to be able to skate. Yeah. Like be able to turn, be able to roll, and everything else.
Right, and now they'll be hooked on skateboarding because they had a good first experience. Yeah. And then if they eventually want to buy $80 Swiss bearings, they can.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
They should.
What about boards right now? What are you doing for board? Because you had Powell, then you had your own. Didn't you had your own board?
It's always been Powell. I've been at Powell for 21 plus years.
21 plus years.
Yeah.
You like Positive through there too, right?
Yeah, Positive was Powell. Powell brand. So
that was your own brand, Positive.
I mean, it was Powell brand, but it was like I came up with the name and we worked on the logo together. And and that was just kind of once you're not with Powell anymore. When I did the shoe brand, Powell was like, we'll give you your own brand and you just do your own thing over here. But Powell has always been. I don't want it to run a skateboard company. What are you going to do? And you try blah, blah. I'm like, it ain't starting a skateboard company. That's crazy.
It's tough, especially nowadays.
Yeah,
it's
that
like,
is nuts.
Boy.
So no, it's not that. I ride the flight deck construction. For Powell. And I don't think I'll ever go back to real wood. It's crazy.
How long does a board last you?
The board that I'm riding right now was my vert board. Now it's my pool board.
Okay.
And it's 8 months old.
What?
Wow.
8 months old.
I rode it for 7 months on vert.
Yeah.
And like, it's the only board that I'll do ding repair on, like it'll hit a seam or whatever. And I'll, file it down with some grip tape or whatever. I just set up a new vert board and I took that board and I put new grip tape on it and set it up as my pool board because it's still great. They don't lose their pop. They don't start to flex out. Like I literally will ride the same board like 8-9 months before I'll change it out. I'll just change the grip tape and keep riding it.
Now,
what's the construction in that? Why is it so special?
Powell magic, dude.
Powell?
But is there fiberglass in it or something like that? Or like
the top layer is some kind of carbon fiber, like it's black, right? But then the bottom layer is wood, so it slides normal like wood, feels like wood.
Yeah.
The only thing that you can tell when you pick it up, feels lighter. I don't think that it's actually lighter. I think it feels lighter because it's thinner. It feels like a potato chip. So especially when you do a lot of grabbing on vert, I feel like I can just like correct stuff that goes wrong way easier now. And when I grab it, it feels like a potato chip. It feels thinner. It is thinner.
It's thinner
to like, I don't know how many millimeters, but it is definitely thinner. But I also ride the Thieve trucks. Okay. I ride the all titanium truck. So my board, even though I ride 60 millimeter wheels, is super light. Like I pick up some, like Tony rides independent trucks. And I'm just like, dude, because we used to always switch boards. Like when he used to ride for Tracker and I would do doubles with him, I dread doing the board switch because I got to land on trackers now. That's how I learned to pass my board back. Like he would pass me a board and I'd be riding trackers. Like, how do I get off this board as soon as I can? And so I used to like kick my board away and grab his. And then I learned to grab my board, grab his. So the next wall I could take his board away and put mine back so that I could get off his board as soon as I could.
Wow. I mean, the doubles thing really interests me, because were a lot of people doing these double, or are you guys pretty much like the only one? I mean,
like when we rode for Airwalk and we were doing doubles, we'd start to do routines so that we know, like Tony and I today can look at each other and go doubles, great, and we just drop in and do a doubles line that we go that one, that one, whatever. We know which one is like our go-to demo doubles routine.
Because you do them in demos and stuff too.
We had been doing them demos when we rode for Airwalk, and then when ESPN announced they're doing a doubles contest, he was the first phone call. Hey, let's do this.
Who else is doing it?
And we were the only ones that really like had anything to go on, and the only ones that went and like practiced for the first like couple of years because we were like, I remember going to Chris Borstramp and like figuring out a line. And then we would figure out another line. And most everybody else would just show up at the X Games and get a partner and start working on a line. And they would do at the event.
Right.
And then they would do that line, and if they did it, they'd do it again. And me and Tony would do our line, and that's line one. Then we'd do line two. Yeah, we'd do a different line. So we'd had like, just because we could, like we had stuff until that one year I forgot what line was what.
What happened? What happened?
Right before we dropped in, I was like, hey, Tony, what's what's after the alley-oop? And he's like, there's no alley-oop in this line.
Uh-oh.
Oh yeah, okay, I got it. And I didn't have it. And I dropped in, and we like had to pop out like halfway through the line, like, and
jeez.
Luckily we made our next line and then made the finals.
Did Tony get mad? Did Tony get mad at you?
He was frustrated with me for sure. That was the 1998 X Games, and I had one vert. And he got like third, and I think he thought he got second for sure. And he like threw his trophy, his medal and stuff. And then we're skating doubles the next day, and I'm gonna blow it for him, right?
Yeah.
Like at first I beat him, then I'm gonna blow it for him. No, we ended up winning.
You beat him, and then now you're sabotaging the doubles run.
Dude, I got a silver medal in street that year too. What? I fell asleep right before the street contest. But
what did you do in the street contest?
I was in the athlete tent, and I was like, this was just, it was the street event was vert quarter pipes and jump boxes. Like I did a backflip over the jump box in my street event.
Did a backflip?
Yeah, I was the first to do a backflip in competition.
What do you grab? Early grab?
No,
what do you do? Like
ollie, just ollie.
Will you ollie and then
like in indie grab?
Oh, you ollie and then indie
grab indie and yank. I don't know. What do you do? I just look back. At Woodward. Woodward was like. Long time ago, we used to drag. I have a background in gymnastics. Before I started skating, I was a gymnast.
Okay.
And so going to Woodward, I was like totally at home in the like I used to do the tumbling demos with the gymnasts, and then we'd grab crash pads out of the gym and drag them down to the vert ramp, and I would try like aerials out of the vert ramp onto the deck, and that's where the foam pit came from.
Gotcha.
Like I was like, hey, what if we built, a jump ramp and then, and
you're responsible for the foam pit.
Me and Gary Ream, like I'm not going to take all the credit. Like everybody was thinking along the same lines, but that's where we built the first thing is like the jump ramp to a foam pit, jump ramp to the resi. The original two are still at Woodward in what's it called? Lot 8.
Lot 8, yeah.
Yeah, Lot 8. So I learned backflips into the foam, and then I learned them onto the resi, and I got a 411 opener, dude. I heard you guys talking about 411.
Yeah, well, Kelly's a huge. Which 411 was it? Do you remember?
Well, you were in the first 411 I ever saw, which it's right next to issue 15. But you had street footage in there too, and that was the first time I got introduced to you pretty quick because of 411. So I thought that was pretty cool.
What did I do? What was I doing on street?
You did a line like ollied over the ledge, did like a 360 flip. I think you did a back 5-0 or a front 5-0 on a bench, and it was like
sounds about.
Yeah,
sounds like the end of my street skating career right there. Like that's as good as it got. If I shoved it out of that 5-0, that was it. I was like,
but then you had vert, and like that was when I just discovered skateboarding. So I was like, what the hell? He's doing that, and you skate that big ramps. Like I didn't know what it was called back then, but
big ramps.
Yeah. Like I said,
that's what I knew back then. But it's cool too because the foam pit in Woodward. Right next to it, I forget what the place is called. The playground, I think, or something. But they built a handrail into a foam pit too.
Yeah. Does that help? Does that like?
It's kind of scary in a weird way. I mean, it's because your board's there still too.
Right.
So you're flying down into, and that board could just land. You can just land on it.
You can nut your board.
Yeah. Well, it's fun actually, but thank you for bringing that up.
Well, you had mentioned Airwalk, right? 20 plus years with Airwalk.
26 years on Airwalk.
26 years. That's insane. But recently now
to my knowledge, like only Steve Caballero has a longer running signature shoe.
I mean, yeah. Oh, because you did
maybe Costin, but he had brakes because he rode for the Kai and
that's
then like
true.
Whatever.
Yeah,
that's true.
Like one brand, one signature shoe since 1997.
Crazy. And then, but now you got Vans, right? You're doing skating Vans.
Yeah, skating Vans. It's a whole
How
new
was
world.
that switch? Because you're 26 years of one shoe.
It was like, and one shoe last. Like once I had my signature shoe last,
was it.
I had a signature last. So they just built all my shoes regardless of what the uppers were. Like I was saying, like eventually Airwalk became a licensing company, and I had signature shoes in Brazil that didn't look like the signature shoe I had in Japan or whatever.
Oh, gotcha.
But the signature shoes that I had were on the Andy Mac last. So I had a cup sole on the same
so
bottoms forever.
Yeah. Same board feel.
Essentially my whole career. Yeah. So I switched to Vans, and I called up Steve Van Doren, and he's we'll send you whatever. Like, and I was like, send me some cup soles. No, we don't make cup soles.
You're like, what? Wait a minute.
Like we only make, like we have this super cushy vulcanized thing, but we only make Volk shoes. So,
sure.
live with it, and I was like, I haven't worn a vulcanized shoe skateboarding since before I rode for Airwalk. So in almost 30 years, like
that is great. How was that adjustment?
Before I got on Airwalk, I was riding Airwalks. Like I won a pair of Vans cabs in a contest at Maxima's.
Oh wow!
Or like some Vision I had some Vision streetwear or something that had vulcanized. But since then, I hadn't worn a vulcanized shoe, and so I had to like relearn to skate. And
I was gonna say, how was that? How was that transition? Like learning?
It was surprisingly difficult skating vert because everyone's like, Vans are so grippy, blah, blah. And I always just blew that off. Like, oh, I'm sure they're waffle print, whatever.
Sure.
And I dropped in first time wearing Vans and I was like, I had new grip tape and your feet don't move. And I want them to move a little bit.
Yeah.
If you don't land just right on air, you want to shuffle my feet a little bit or just have that feeling of like, I need to set up for a nollie trick. And you need to just like move your front foot a little bit. And it's way harder with Vans.
You have to stand down a lot more.
Now? Yeah. I mean, I would always like just take my shoes and do that.
Oh, just rub it on the board.
Just rub it on the board and break in your grip tape, whatever. I have to do that more now. And just like, I'm used to it now. It's fine. But the biggest was like that I had the support of a cup sole for all these years, and that the board feel of a cup sole, and now it's vulcanized sole. And
don't they? I could have sworn they're making
the Super Cush. I ride the Kyle Walkers, and they're like they feel like a cup sole sorta, but they're not constructed that same way. They're still put in.
They look like more like technical, a little more.
But it comes from within the inside of the footbed, not the outside of the bottom. When they build it, they don't sew the bottoms on. They still cook them in an oven like you do vulcanized. As far as I know, maybe I'm just talking complete trash. Somebody at Vans right now is like, you idiot, they're cup soles. I have no idea.
What's your preference? New board, old shoes, new board, new shoes. If you had your choice to go.
Does anybody like new board, new shoes?
I do.
Really?
I do, yeah.
No.
I like new board, old shoes.
I could go old board, new shoes too.
With the flight deck construction, it can be an 8-month-old board and it feels like a new board. It doesn't look like one when you look down.
Right.
So I'm a little bit like,
too, though.
But if you regrip it, whatever. So that really doesn't even come into play anymore with the boards that I've been riding. And my shoes I'll ride, and they just look terrible. Right now, the shoes are like light blue Kyle Walkers, and there's tape on them, and they're just like...
Oh, you ride them till they're done?
Yeah, totally. There's because there's just tape, so there's... Because you sit on your feet and you knee slide, and so your shoes are a mess from the first day.
Do you miss lace savers?
But if they made a decent looking shoe with lace savers, I would totally rock them.
What is this lace savers?
Airwalks used to make basically we used to call them mud flaps. It was like a piece of
Is it like the Velcro
and the Velcro closure over? That was for vert skating. So that you wouldn't break your laces.
You ever try to knee slide on street just because it's ingrained in your head?
Oh, I can knee slide out of a crooked grind, no problem. Full pads, crooked grind on a ledge, knee slide.
But I can imagine it could get ingrained in your head, and then you try to bail and you just directly go to your
Tony
knees.
told me he did a knee slide the other day at the TF, the California Skate Parks TF, out of an invert. Knee slid, but he just came in. He was wearing jeans, and he came in and got up like, I'm good, whatever. Just like, that's how I grew up.
Yeah,
you're so used to knee sliding. Like if I'm going to skate a 4-foot mini ramp, like your buddies in Reading or whatever, knee pads. I'll rock it. I'm not too proud.
Oh, on a 4-foot, your knee pad. Yeah,
whatever. Because it's way easier for me to than try to run out and step on the soap or jam your foot into the front of your shoe. I'll just knee slide. That's all good. I was skating a backyard pool with no transitions. You shouldn't even try to knee slide in here because you're only going to land on the drain.
Yeah.
I'll just wear knee pads.
Are you getting warmed up when you go to the ramp, or can you just drop in and 540, 720, do all your little thing? What's a warm up process like?
I used to have the same warm up run every time.
Stretching before you get to the park? No stretching.
No. So I used to, when I had time before I had kids. Yeah. I used to drop in, no stretching or anything. It's funny because the irony in that is that I'm the trainer, right? Don't drink, don't smoke. You probably jog to the ramp and whatever, did all this cross training. I don't go to the gym. I'm so boring. The only time I ever do that is if I'm injured and I can't skate. Rehab, right. Yeah. But I would show up at the ramp and drop in and go slider fakie hang up, frontside grind, frontside blunt, rock fakie caballero. Every time.
That was it.
That was my warm up run forever. And then I had my first child, 12 years ago, and you don't have time. Like there's just no, like your space and time for actually going skating becomes less.
Sure.
So I would show up at the ramp, and for a little while, because Tony's has been there forever. That's like my home ramp.
Oh, okay.
So it's 12, 13, 15 years old or something, and it's still the best.
Perfect.
Ramp. It's super perfect. It's
Okay.
$1 million half pipe.
Wow.
And I would drop in and basically do a contest line. Like it was, and I told myself, if I ever do this whole line, I'll just take off my pads and be done for the day. And I only ever did it once, but there was like a 2-year period after I had my first kid where I would drop in first wall McTwist, tail grab 5, stalefish, air to fakie 7, lean rodeo, nollie heel for 360, and I'd pop out on the deck. And I would make it to like, if I made it past the 720, I was psyched. You know,
Right. Here we go. Yeah.
But that was like, you don't have time to warm up because you only have a 2-hour window to go skate because you got to go help take care of your baby.
Sure.
And so for a long time that was it. And so and now I have 3 kids. So it's even more just like I show up at the ramp and I go, pretend like you've been skating for a while. It's just like,
just
drop in and like see. So I don't have like a go-to like that anymore. Because I'm not spinning 7s like I used to.
Is that the hardest trick for you to do right now?
There's tricks in skateboarding that don't get any easier. Like the more, even though you do them all the time, like I used to just be like, I got to do a 7 every time I skate. I got to do a kickflip 5 every time I skate. Because you want to be used to it so that you can do it when it's time to do it in a contest.
Sure.
Or whatever. It's not as much contests anymore. Like I need to have my 7s for the next Tony Hawk demo or whatever.
There you go.
That's, I think the last time I did a 720 was at the last Tony Hawk demo.
Okay. So, and like you said, it's easier at the demos because of the adrenaline and the crowds and everything.
Yeah. And often I skate by myself. I skate
I was just about
morning
to ask.
sessions these days because I have a 2-year-old. So since I've had a 2-year-old, I'm daddy daycare in the afternoons.
Okay.
So she'll go to...
Bring him to the ramp.
I have
Have Galena watch him.
Exactly. Galena's super psyched on my 8-year-old, actually. Sometimes I do bring the kids to the ramp with me.
Yeah.
Come to the ramp. But yeah, so I have this, the window, the more kids you have, the more the windows get crushed. And so in the past year or so, the window's been from 9 in the morning till noon.
Yeah.
So if anybody wants to skate, it's like me and Rob Mertz skate.
The morning basically
sessions.
You're skating by yourself, except if Rob's there.
Yeah.
Right.
And so it's harder to motivate to go like, I'm going to do a 720 right now.
Yeah.
And I'm going to film it for Instagram. I did recently. I posted it and I said something about like, it's way harder to do 720s when you're in a warehouse by yourself.
By yourself. I couldn't even imagine.
Yeah. and it still it's dangerous, you know, like, so
course.
if you do knock yourself out, it's one thing at Tony's, somebody would eventually find you. But I used to go out when the big air ramp was out at Point X, I used to go out to wherever that was in Temecula.
Oh yeah.
And go and skate that, just me and my dog. And I would skate it by myself and walk back up the hill and do the jump. And I was like, man, if I knock myself out, the coyotes are going to find me before anybody's going to find me.
Look for the buzzards.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I could imagine skating by yourself doing all like.
That comes from being an East Coast vert skater. Like that was it. You know,
but I'm sure you go cruise too, right? You go cruise the ramp. You don't have to do the 720s or the 540s or the kickflip things.
No, fives I definitely do every session. Yeah, you don't want to lose 5s because it can freak you out. And like, I don't know, there's something about the rhythm of 5s. I make sure I do at least a couple variations of 5s because I don't want to lose my different variations. Like if you don't do a tail grab 5 for a long time, like grab them with your backhand. If you can do tails or indies, you're good. Then you can usually do a stale or whatever. Yeah. Grab with your backhand, grab with your front. If I do a melon one, I know I can do a mute one.
Yeah.
Body varials or kick flips, like I do less often, but I still 5s are. They're not as you got to have them. It's like 5s and inverts, like for demos and stuff. That's people want
to see that.
That's it.
I want to see you spin.
And often you're doing it like next to Tony or over under. You know, like Tony and I had a doubles line where he would do a 7 and I would do a fakie 5 under him, and we would hit helmets all the time. Like he had a black helmet, I had a yellow helmet, and there would be black lines on our helmets because I rotate this way and he's a goofy foot and he rotates this way, and we would like roll over each other.
I can imagine that could be dangerous though. You could like
break your neck.
Your neck.
Double skating is dangerous, but that's what we're starting to talk about. Like you have to trust.
You have to trust
your doubles partner. Like
right.
I trust Tony implicitly. When he says, I'm going to be here at this time, at this place in the ramp, at this high, I don't have to think about it anymore. I just concentrate on doing what I'm doing and know that I take for granted that he's going to do and be where he said when he was going to be there. And we've been doing it long enough, even if we're just skating side by side and we need to be synchronized because we're going to do an over under or whatever. You can see out of the corner of your eye whether they got a good landing or not, and you can wait up for them. Like, hey, this was supposed to be a setup backside air, but now it's going to be a body jar because now it's going to take that beat longer, and now they're going to be caught up, and we're going to be synchronized again. Or I'm going to do a body jar like we planned, but it's going to be a body jar, not just a snap body jar.
Yeah, don't hold it.
Yeah, it's like fractions of seconds, but you can tell when you're skating with somebody that's like that you trust, and like. Yeah. There's been times in competitions where like he did a backside ollie, I did a backside lip slide. He had bottom dropped his setup, and he just like he wasn't high enough, so he just put his hand on my back and pushed me out of the way. Like, I was like backside lip slide.
Push you like literally just said,
just
get the hell
out of the way. But
when
we made it.
When you guys like hit each other like on accident, do you guys land it too at the same time?
In a contest, like when you have to, you do. Like it freaks you out, but but less so when you're skating with Tony. If somebody else did that to me, I'd be like, "Whoa, what are you doing?"
Sure.
But Tony and I are so used to skating in such close quarters that now we just joke about it. Like one of that go-to doubles line starts with frontside grinds toward each other. Like and we're on a demo ramp oftentimes, so it's only like 28 feet wide. So you pick a line. This is your seam, and okay, that's the middle, Tony. And I always tell him, "Don't go over," and I know he's gonna. He always grinds too far.
Okay.
So I on purpose come in too soon, and when we come in like facing each other, like he's goofy, I'm regular, so we're like this. Yeah. And I'm always hitting him in the ribs, like you went too far, you went too hard, as we're coming across the flat bottom.
Really?
Because I'm just like, you always go too far, get over there. And then we do tailbones, and we oftentimes can come close to hitting our tails, and then we do McTwists away from each other.
That's incredible.
I got to go back and watch some of these things, man. I mean, it's fascinating, dude. And unless he misses and does a hand plant off your ass.
Yeah, that was the. I'm sure you guys talked about. I didn't watch that.
You
talked about that. That was we did it for the doubles video on video, and then like 2 weeks passed, and I called him.
That's what he said. Yeah,
he knew I was calling about that because he knew. Like usually, if I call or text Tony, he gets me right back.
Yeah,
and I called him. And he knew I was calling for that. He didn't call me back.
He didn't call me.
So I finally got home. I was like, we have to go shoot that, right? Like we have to shoot a still photo of the doubles invert, and he just like didn't want to do it.
He didn't want to do it. Why?
Because it's scary as hell. Like he lamented doing it. We did it. We went and we did it, and done at Claremont or whatever. But, it's scary. Like the the timing and the commitment and the trust. All those. Even if like we trust each other implicitly in knowing that I'm going to be there. But like this one time when we were trying to shoot the photo with the Tebow, I was late on the setup. Like, so I have to time off him. So he has to go really high. He drops in, goes air, above you, air, and then I come in with him.
Oh.
So if I'm not timing,
and he's going faster though.
Yes, he's going faster. So I have to go when he's still in the air. He's on his way down or whatever, right? So if I don't time it just right, I'm not going to be there for his hand, right? That's what he was talking about. Like he's upside down, so he's looking for whatever he can get his hands on, whether it's my ass or whatever, to get himself back to his knees to bail, right?
Yeah.
So this one time I dropped in late and I tried to hurry, like I pumped harder, faster than I should have been going to stall an Andrak. The whole idea is like we had tried originally. I was like, I'll do a Smith vert and my board will be exactly flat, and then you'll have this table to put your hand on. But when you do an air, you're further out over the ramp than that. So we tried a couple times at invert, and he's like, it's not going to work.
Yeah.
And I was like, wait, let me try an Andrak where I flap it over and I'm like into the ramp more.
Okay.
And then he got his hand on the board, and we're like, maybe that'll work. So I tried to hurry and get into an Andrak faster, and I missed my grab on the way up, and he was already upside down over me, and my board went. Almost hit him straight in the face. Just like, wow, just like, he's,
oh my God.
And that was just like one try, and then a couple tries later, Tony gets a perfect grab and like tries to stall an invert. I'm like, you can't stop. I'm underneath. I'm going, like trying to hold his weight.
Exactly.
Right. So he gets a proper invert, stalls it, and tries to like push off. And when he pushes off, he pushes me over the deck. So I end up going like shins on the deck and front flipping into the deck because I'm on an invert and I get pushed into the deck.
Who gets more mad at each other? Do you get more mad at Tony, or does Tony get more mad at you?
Timing, people. Tony. The first time we actually did like practice, somebody, our friend Greg Smith was like, called it couples skating. And we're like, couples skating. Wow. Yes, we're couples skating, like figure skating. Yes, you're my couples partner from then on.
What would you recommend for a skater that wanted to, play around with vert? What would you recommend for like a first trick? Would it be like a rock fakie? Would it be what would be a good like learning thing?
Kick turn?
Kick turn.
Well,
turns. I mean, that's easy.
Kick turn's a trick. Kick turn's a trick.
I know, but okay, everybody could do a kick turn. Right?
Kick turn grinds. I would
scratching.
Frontside grind. Frontside grinds.
Oh, frontside instead of back.
Frontside instead of backside because you can see it and it's more satisfying because you can look at it and you can like hear it like.
Okay.
And frontside kick turns are generally harder to get used to than backside.
Right.
So that would be like a beginner. Harder beginner trick.
Okay.
Than just doing backside kick turns because a lot of kids learn to skate and they only go backside. I'm like, you got to go both ways. You got to start going frontside. And if you can learn to pump frontside, then you can get into frontside airs, and those are arguably funner than backside airs because again, you can see it, you can look at it, and you can see your landing.
Because you're going over the
You're up and you can wave at your friends on the deck. Check me out. What's up? Frontside air. It's Tony Alva. It's like tuck knee style. Like it's. I don't know. Frontside air is still to this day one of my favorite tricks. It's just
you could just
basic
go blast
frontside air. You just you're not really doing much, but you're just like enjoying. You're able to enjoy the ride more. Enjoy that like flying time and that split second of like when I talk about flying, it's like there's a split second where you're no longer going up, but you haven't started coming down yet, and that's this weightless feeling where that's what you're going for. Like if you could just make that last, you're literally weightless because you're not going up anymore, but you haven't started coming down.
You've reached that pinnacle of that
the apex
peak
of each air every time you do it.
Do you have time up there to look around and to take in the view, or what do you?
No, like I said, like it all happens at the same. It all becomes one trick. Even the highest air I ever did was 24 foot on the mega ramp and
24 feet.
24 foot
out of the off the coping. 24 feet
on a 30-foot ramp.
Yeah, so you're like 54 feet up.
Jesus,
so nuts.
Yep. Now, when you land something, are you just like, "Whoa, boy, that worked."
That was
intense.
Whoa, no, that's the highest I've ever gone. The highest I'll ever go. It was the year that the Mega was inside the Staples Center.
Okay.
And so they had to make it fit in there. We were like dropping in from the rafters. It was barely fit. Wow. And then to make it fit lengthwise, they took out flat bottom in between the landing and the quarter pipe. So it was faster. You had less time to bleed speed. That's the year everybody got hurt. That's the year Jakey did his smash. And the year after Danny caught his shins.
Shit.
But so in a lot of ways, it was the safest it's ever been because it was the first time it was indoors. So wind plays a huge factor on the quarter pipe getting blown around. But it was also way too fast.
That was a gnarly slam that Jake.
Hell yeah.
Wow. When you see something like that, are you just like, ooh, does that kill the vibe? Like, are you?
Does it kill the vibe? I just saw my friend should have died.
I know. I know.
Yeah, it kills the vibe. Yeah. I didn't look. I saw what happened, and I'm gonna watch my friend gonna land and should die. Yeah. And I looked away.
You just couldn't watch it.
And then I looked back and I saw him land again because he bounced.
Oh, jeez! Like you looked away, expecting to look back and see him on the flat bottom, and he was already.
And when I looked back, he was hitting again because he had bounced so high, and then it was like go, like
everybody get
the life flight or whatever.
Sure.
And ESPN was like, no, he'll wake up. Like,
what do you mean?
He woke up and walked off.
Oh, he did. That's right.
Yeah.
But still,
they shouldn't have let him do that.
No,
shouldn't have let him do that. They should have been like life flight right
especially
now on a stretcher. Like he could have stood up and gotten paralyzed.
Yeah.
That's right.
Like had he broken his neck.
Plus, you're probably discombobulated. You don't know what's going on. Maybe you are injured, but you don't know it.
And then he sat there and smoked a cigarette.
Oh, did he? After that?
While the rest of the contest was going on. Wow. They were like, we should go to the hospital. He's like, no, hold on.
Let me
Well, when you watched
taking it all in.
that, when you watched that, what was the point where you knew it was going to go wrong? Like, was it when he was approaching the quarter pipe?
When he squished into the quarter pipe. When you squish in the G-force, when you're going 45 miles an hour.
Yeah.
So it's like when you fall off the jump, it's like falling off a motorcycle. And it's like, so like my first experience of that was that Swatch jump I did around the turn of the century.
The first mega ramp.
Yeah, the first that we built it in my friend's backyard in Michigan.
Wow.
And I set a world record jump for 52 feet, like long distance, like Evel Knievel. Jump 4 parked cars. And I remember like you're going so fast, like if you don't come around on your 360 and land exactly straight, you just go wham. Just like it just before you can even react, you're on your side, and then you're sliding, and you're like shit starts heating up. You know, like I didn't have gloves, but then later I would wear leather gloves, and I burned through leather gloves.
Seriously,
just like and then you got to take off your glove real fast just because of the friction. Like it's like falling off a motorcycle. Yeah,
hand or whatever.
It's like falling off a motorcycle. Wow. So to answer your question, yeah, like when I saw Jakey come in and like try and undo his speed, like because he was trying to turn way over, and he compressed against the vert against the quarter pipe. By the time he took off, he had to stand up, and when he stood up, that's what ejected him.
Oh my gosh, dude!
Yeah,
that's what crazy. Was that? What happened to him? Was he? I can't remember.
He broke his wrist.
Broke his wrist,
and probably some ribs, and I should have had internal bleeding. He should have been dead.
He should have right. He walked away.
In medical terms, if you fall from 50 feet,
I mean, he literally
you're supposed to die.
Seriously.
Yeah, in medical terms, if you fall from 5 stories or higher, you're dead. But Jakey pulled
I wouldn't want to fall from 4 stories. Let me tell you something. Jesus Christ.
4 is enough.
Yeah, for sure.
Man, Andy Mack, man, this has been amazing. I know you got to go pick up your kids and do all your things you got to go do, but
well, can we ask him about the pogo thing? I want to
go ahead. Yeah,
what's you're into pogo sticks?
I was for a little while when that opportunity came. I've always been into bouncing trampoline.
Okay.
And when I first started making money from skateboarding, one of the first things I bought is a trampoline.
Trampoline?
Yeah. Like
most dangerous thing.
I guess. I don't know.
You know, I think they're dangerous.
Just from my gymnastics background or whatever.
Okay.
So I bought like a competition size trampoline. It's got an Aussie bed. Like just the bed of this trampoline is like $1,000 because you got to get it from Australia. It's like a weave. So you can bounce like 14 feet high.
Wow.
Like fairly easy. Like if you've never bounced a trampoline, you can bounce 10 feet high. No problem. And the Olympians bounce like 20 feet. Like no problem. Just all perfect. But when you're bouncing that high, if you do it wrong, it just sends you.
Go on YouTube, watch some trampoline videos. You're not going to see some
exactly
good stuff.
Probably through my manager or whatever. Like somebody knew that I was into doing that and thought I might be into like an adult pogo stick. Like we're developing an adult pogo stick. What do you think? And he showed me a prototype, which is basically like rubber bands that expanded and contracted as the piston came up into this.
Oh wow!
Literally mail. It was a wooden prototype with those, those thick rubber bands that they wrap mail in. Stacks and stacks of those.
Wow!
So the rubber bands would go. Blah, blah. So I bounced on it. Like he met me at like the Gravity Games. So that tells you when around that time it was. And I bounced on it like 6 bounces and then landed a little bit sideways and bent the piston. And I was like, yeah, it's fucking sick, dude. Sorry I broke your prototype. But this guy was a physicist. He was an MIT trained physicist, and he was experimenting in brake technology, like with elasticity, and he wanted to like regenerative braking. This was before Tesla and batteries and whatever. So he wanted to he was originally thinking for a bike. When I brake on my bike, I'm going to take that energy and regenerate it into pedal power, forward motion, whatever. And he came up with this thing. He was like, well, I'm turn it this way. Now it's a pogo stick. Right. Yeah. So he started doing some prototypes, and I was like, I'd love to help, design this, produce this thing with you, or engineer it. So we would have long discussion. This must have been 1999, because I remember talking to him about when we were building the Swatch jump, and talking to him about like, so if I want to go farther, like it would be better if I was heavy, because I go faster down the roll. And being a physicist, he's like, no, because then you have to carry that same weight over the jump. So somebody that weighs 200 pounds will go the same as somebody that weighs 100 pounds. And like all these, what about the angle? And then, So we'd have long discussions about, the physics of skateboarding. I was like, okay, so what I need to do is roll down with a bowling ball and drop the bowling ball, and then I'll go further. It's like, exactly. I don't think I'm going to roll with a bowling ball.
No. Andy Mack's rolling with the what has he got in his hands?
Set some pins up.
So that was the story of that. Is like, I just was like, yeah, sign me up. This would be fun. And eventually it was like a year and a half in different prototypes, and I was the test crash dummy, basically. Like,
You
just
end up in
bouncing. Yeah, I took some good hits. Like, one time I was because it feels like a BMX bike. You have handlebars, so you can do bar spins and whatever. And I went for a bar spin, and I had committed to it. I was like, rode the piston all the way down, and these things, it's like 1,200 pounds of thrust when you have all the pistons hooked up, all the elastics hooked up. Yeah, and I rode it all the way down to the bottom, and my feet slipped off the pegs. And just like, just sent me back. And I wasn't wearing a shirt. I was like, just like a big square thing. And I was like,
shirtless,
okay, so we need to make a padded top to this. So that's
dangerous.
So basically the production ones are like there's a Nerf ball on the top.
Oh, gotcha.
In case it comes up and catches you.
Couldn't even imagine. I mean, now you see these guys that are springing up
do backflips,
2-3 stories.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like we took the we did, like, when we first had the first production run of a Anthony Acosta, photographer. I just met him, and I'm like, hey, I got a job for you, dude. You want to go shoot pogo sticks?
That's amazing.
And he was just like, this is awesome. Like, because I had guys that were like, oh, we could totally backflip on this thing, And nobody had tried it. And we went up to Woodward, and we built like a fake over the trampoline, like, because they have spotting belts, and I was like, I'll fucking try it in a spotting belt, So we built a wooden floor over the trampoline, and I got on a spotting belt, and I bounced and did backflips, and then I tried it into the foam, or I was like, I'm not sure I'm the guy that's going to do backflips on pogo sticks, but this is, I got it to the point where, like, this is totally doable,
right?
And like a month or two later, guys are doing backflips, guys do front flips, and
front flip,
double back. They do all kinds of crazy stuff, but that was fun. But like I said, that was in that whole process of developing that for those guys, and I gave it its name. It's called the Fly Bar. I came up with Fly Bar, and I drew the logo and stuff. And years later, and I made I think like a couple grand from that whole deal. That's it. Like, that's it, because it wasn't like taken off, not like people adult pogo sticks. I just thought it'd be fun. But there again, like, I took so much heat for it, pogo sticks, sell out, blah blah. I'm like, you're taking this entirely too seriously. It's a pogo stick, it's a toy, it's fun. But if I get on a pogo stick, I'm gonna bounce it. I weigh 180 pounds. It's gonna bounce. It's a kid's toy, right?
It's a kid's toy.
But this is an adult pogo stick, and you can bounce 6 feet high. What's not fun about that? So.
It's scary,
it's just
though.
Like, it's basically
6 feet high.
It's basically like taking your trampoline and bringing it anywhere you want to go.
Right.
Trampoline pogo sticks.
So
that's where that came from. But that pogo stick was sold on Amazon, and that's how I met somebody at Amazon.
So it all weaves. It's all this weaving around, and it's a big spider web.
Yep.
What's going on with Andy Mack now, man? Are you working on anything? Do you have any new video? Because you came out with a video recently about.
Yeah, I did a video around the time the Linda Vista Park opened.
Right,
That's my new happy place, Linda Vista. I mean, put that together just because I didn't want to do another vert part, and my buddy Brent, this filmer, that was like, hey, let's meet at Tony's and we'll shoot some more footage. And I was like, let's just do something more like the Barracks used to do those transitions, it's all in one park. And I was like, let's just do something at Linda Vista. And this hadn't even opened yet. So, and his schedule, he wasn't making a living being a videographer yet or whatever. So he worked most days, and our schedule worked up. So like every Friday morning we could go and film. So it's the longest I've ever worked on a video. It took like 4 months because we were only filming one Friday morning a week.
Oh, wow.
But I'm not the skater that works years on a video part.
Well, 4 months is still a long time.
Yeah. Skating the full pipe is super fun.
Yeah. Why not another vert part,
couple years ago, we started doing the skater cross thing. And that just came from like me wishing that I was a BMX rider and that I could like race BMX. And I was like, what would it be like if we built a BMX track out of wood and skate light, whatever. And I somehow convinced the YMCA at Mission Valley that it would be a good idea. And so did presentations for their board of directors and helped raise the money to build this $250,000 skateboard racetrack, which is Skatercross. And it was super fun. You know, it still sits there. It's like the most popular thing at the skate park.
Go and pump around
yeah. I mean, it's a pump track on steroids. Like you start with like a BMX, like a Olympic BMX start gates. Like
with the
riders ready,
down.
Boom, when the gate drops, and then you pull in like snowboarder cross, right? Yeah. So you have these handles, and you pull in, the gate drops, you pull in, and you drop 4 feet down and 4 feet out into a 25-foot roll in, and the first hit's 27 feet. And when we raced it, there was no gap. It was like, it's at the skate park, but this is the pro race. So like the VIP lounge was under there. So you were there was like a net. Yeah, and guys are flying over your head. And then you land that, and the next jump is 18 feet. And then you hit a berm. And in the finals, there was 3 guys, and the track's only 20 feet wide. So you're like, your lane's 3 feet wide. So you're jumping a 27-foot gap, like elbow to elbow with the guy next to you. And it's just made for some exciting
sounds
and neat, because it's like in any other form of skateboarding, it's judged, right? Yeah. So this
is time trials, right?
Yeah, this is there's a distinct winner. The first guy across the line wins.
Yeah.
So it takes the subjectivity out of it, the politics out of it.
Right.
Like, it's, if you're fast, you can win. You can be Joe from Idaho, and you can come and race Skatercross and be racing against the best in the world. And if you're fast, you're in. So that's what was neat about it. So we did a race. Tony Hawk's production company, 900, produced it, and ESPN World of X Games shot it for their World of X Games show, and it had out the gate had better ratings than the X Games themselves for Nielsen ratings. Wow. Yeah, because it's completely new, essentially like a new discline.
And it's I can see it being exciting for people to watch. It
was neat too, because it was like it leveled the playing field. Like Grayson Fletcher and Ryan Sheckler and Trey Wood. Like Trey Wood won. He was the fastest dude. He just got it right away, figured it out. Tom Shar, Alex Sergente, guys that skate vert, guys that skate street. It just like leveled the playing field. Like however you can figure out how to get across this thing the fastest. Yeah.
Wow.
And people that don't skateboard could relate to it.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I think it was
very relatable in that, like, I want the guy with the dreadlocks to win. You don't have to know anything about skateboarding. I like just then.
And it's exciting. The guys are going around and
they brought cowbells, and they're like, you're coming through the berms, and they're ringing their cowbells, and just like, just super. It's racing. Like, who doesn't get racing? So that's been super fun, just to help kind of birth. There was a lot going on in my life. I had my now 2-year-old baby girl at the same time. Her due date was the day we started construction of that Skatercross track. So I was like down there, checking my phone every 5 minutes. Like, are we having a baby? Okay, well, let's check this first jump. Oh, you overshot it by 5 feet. Okay.
Water broke.
Yeah. I know. Exactly. Andy Mack, dude, this has been amazing. Thank you so much for coming by. I appreciate you guys
making the time and having me out. It's been super fun.
Kelly.
It's rad to get you and Kelly together. And
I know. Great. This is like a reunion that's been waiting to happen.
I feel like this bond.
Dude, it's just like, I feel like, where they introduce these long lost brothers, or something that's been
West Coast. We were separated at birth.
Yeah. Well, dude, it's weird to like look at you here, because I'm like, dude, we really do look like each other.
They do. They do.
The best thing was he was like, I get called Tom Cruise all the time. I'm like, I do too. We literally get the same. That's when you know you look like. I was tripping on that. That's tight.
Kelly, will you please grab Andy some 9 Club stuff?
What size t-shirts do you wear?
Size large.
Size large.
I just want one of these mugs you guys are rocking, dude.
Oh yeah, we got the mugs. We got
Appleyard.
Appleyard.
Appleyard's a good dude, and he's an artist, as you can tell.
Mm-hmm. No, he does. He does a great job. Yeah, right. I mean, it's Appleyard. Yeah. If he wants to draw us a picture,
it
please.
says rental on the front of the helmet. So rad.
Well, that's the only helmet that Raj could find.
Yeah. Well,
I'll hit up RP for that.
Yeah. He hit up RP. Didn't you speak at the White House?
I did.
You went to the White House before Tony did.
I was the first skater to skate in the White House.
Did Tony lie to us? I thought he said he was the first one.
Absolutely not. If he told you he was the first one, I have video evidence.
Did he mention Andy? Okay.
C-SPAN, CNN.
I thought we were going to call him out right now.
Tony's been the first for almost everything.
Yeah.
but not that.
Well, who was president at the time?
I beat Tony to the White House, and I beat him to the Tonight Show. I did
you were Tonight?
I did Jay Leno before
That's
he
amazing.
did, and then I did Bill Clinton.
Bill Clinton was in the White House. Mm-hmm. And what did you do? How did you get invited to go you gave an anti-drug speech, right?
Yeah.
How did you get invited to do that? Thank you, Kelly.
So I was the first athlete that back in the mid, I guess it was around the turn of the century. Remember the Partnership for Drug-Free America?
I do.
And they used to do like, this is drugs, this is your brain on drugs, whatever. Yeah. So they were going away from that because they were just made fun of that. And
sure.
They were going to start being
people
personalities, like people, right. I was the first athlete that they used.
Oh, wow.
And it was, I did a PSA for them, skating, and it was just like, this is what I do. This is how I get high,
okay.
Skateboarding's hard. You got to fall down a lot,
Right.
You got to get back up, whatever. And it's just 30-second PSA, and it was their most successful PSA to that point. And so the launch of their new athlete one, because they eventually did ones with like Serena Williams did one, and like they used a bunch of athletes.
Gotcha.
But the launch of that campaign happened at the White House with an invitation to the White House and to introduce then President Bill Clinton. So General McCaffrey, the drug czar at the time, introduced me, and then I introduced Bill Clinton. Got to meet him before, gave him a pal board, my signature board, and was like. And it was right as he was leaving office. So I was like, you're going to have some time on your hands.
Here you go.
Said, I will give you some lessons, whatever.
Well, thank you. Thank you there.
Surreal experience.
Really appreciate this. This is
but
great.
yeah, like background check and like the security. And I'm going through the metal detectors at the White House, and I come through the metal detectors, and I have my skateboard, and there's this big long marble hallway, and I'm just like, I got to skate down the hallway. Like, just drop my board down and cruise down the hallway. And
did anybody say anything?
No, the Secret Service agents weren't nearly as excited about it as I was. They're like,
did anybody film you or take a photo?
No,
of you
there was
nothing.
There was. This was before. This is the Clinton administration.
Sure.
So there was no iPhones, and even if there were, you weren't allowed. So I have the only thing I have is the official White House photographer. So I have a photo of like shaking Clinton's hand and passing him my skateboard.
Okay.
And I have a photo of me at the podium and him here, and the drugs are there. And then the funny part was that it was on live C-SPAN, CNN, right? So Shrugi had been out with me the night before. There was a contest on one of those X-Trials contests in Oceanside.
Okay.
Literally the night before, because it was a Sunday night. The vert finals were Sunday night, and I won the contest. And Shrugi was part of the, his head judge or whatever, and he had gone out partying, and I had gone and gotten a red-eye flight to fly to Washington, D.C. So I won the contest, split, flew to D.C., first public speaking I had ever done, and I just stayed up all night practicing in the mirror of the bathroom of the airplane, like, hi, like my notes, right?
Sure.
Because it was a 5-minute speech.
That's a long time.
And yeah, it was like, and so I show up at the White House, do the thing, and then I'm like, they introduced me like, okay, ladies and gentlemen. So I started out by like, just a disclaimer here, I'm a professional skateboarder. I don't usually do this meet the president stuff.
Okay. right.
So I'm doing it, and it's on live C-SPAN, CNN, and it's at like 9 a.m. or whatever. And Shrugi, who had been out partying all night, was like, left the TV on, and he's on his couch, and he's like, wakes up, and he's like, Andy? I can't be Andy Macdonald on CJ. How is he in the White House? And I was partying.
That's amazing.
Before, so.
It's funny. Shrugi story. He was just like, he was just waking up all groggy, and he was just like, it can't be really happening.
That's a great story, though,
good.
man. I mean, when you skated down the hall, did the Secret Service say anything to you, or they just gave you the eyeball?
They just gave me the eye and like patted on his gun or something.
Like you better do a kickflip.
Like, nowadays, I think, this was still pretty early. It was 1999.
Sure.
So it was like X Games were going on, but it wasn't like household names. I'm sure during when Tony went, it was during Obama, and he actually got to skate in the driveway and do kickflips and stuff.
Yeah.
Did you get to talk to Clinton, like have an actual conversation?
Yeah, a little bit. Like there's a room before, like when you see all the press conferences and they come out from that back door, there's a room behind there where everybody's meeting, and like so we hung out in there while they're getting ready before they call, but it's all very like before we're all hanging out in there, and then somebody comes in and goes, POTUS will be here in 3 minutes.
Oh.
And I'm like, what's POTUS? Oh, President of the United States, right. By your watch, you could have been like 3 minutes exactly later.
He would walk in.
Clinton walks in and shaking hands,
all
kissing
right,
babies.
Andy
And
Macdonald,
yeah. And
huh?
so we hung out and I gave him a board and, you know, like, you ever done this before? Oh, you're from Boston. All right, whatever. It just like.
Cool guy.
Yeah. From what I understand, like the dude's super intelligent. And as tribute to that, like, you know, to the point where like never forgets a face and a name kind of thing. Oh. I had heard that about him. So I met this guy for 3 minutes behind and then I introduced him and, you know, first thing he said when he got to the mic is like, you know, Andy, you should consider a career in politics. You know, you're going to fall down a lot. Like, gave me a compliment and said it was fun afterwards and whatever. And then then he finishes his term and he's doing a speaking tour. And this is like 2 years later. And he's doing a speaking tour. And I was visiting my wife's sister at Brown University in Providence, Rhode Island. And he was doing a speaking tour there. And I was like, I wonder, you know, like it was sold out. There was 2 arenas and his arena was sold out and there was an arena next door. And it was sold out to watch it on closed circuit TV.
Oh, wow.
Right. So you couldn't get a ticket to go see Clinton speak. And I called my manager. I don't remember who we called, but his people and he, whatever. Hey, do you remember this guy? Oh yeah. Gave me VIP tickets for me and my family, like totally remembered me. And like we went in and just like, he was on tour with like Chris Rock was there too.
That's amazing.
Chris Rock was introducing the president at that point.
That's incredible.
We went and saw him again. I was just like, that's crazy that he remembered me.
Seriously?
Yep.
Wow.
And then so
the yellow helmet.
And then years later, it was probably the yellow helmet.
Oh, I remember that.
I should have
been
been wearing the helmet. Yeah, I remember that.
Guy in the yellow helmet.
Had I not been wearing the helmet. Yeah. Years later, we're on the Boom Boom Huck Jam tour, and we went through Arkansas, and I went to the presidential library, and you can look up per day, like there's these big binders. You can look what they did each minute of every day.
Seriously, somebody's taking these notes.
Yeah. It's the
That's weird.
Every day.
I guess so. Ate a bagel, 9:30 a.m.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so I looked up my day, and there it is. Like met Andy Macdonald, speech for the Partnership for Drug Free America, blah blah. And then they have like all the gifts that they've been giving, like all from.
Oh, wow.
The Sultan of Saudi Arabia, whatever, and like all that stuff. And I was like, hey, I asked somebody, I was like, I gave a board to the president when I met him, blah, blah. Would it be here? And he's like, not if he liked it. And I was like, oh, so he has it. He has it. It's not in his library.
It's in his garage.
Yeah, he's cleaning out his garage. I remember this when Andy Macdonald was in the bar. He gave me this nice board. Man, nice boy. Yep. Nice boy. Listen, bro. I know you've been waiting a long time for this.
We might need to give him one for the whole family.
This is I know. Well, we could take whatever he wants after the show. He could raid our warehouse. Here you go. This is Andy Macdonald / Kelly Hart
/ Apple Yard
Skittles holder.
Apple Yard. Do you drink coffee at all? Are you a caffeine?
I'm a chai tea latte soy.
Now, do you make that at home, or do you go out
that's my one vice, like that. Actually, spend the $4. And they're good.
Those are good.
Yep.
You get them at Starbucks?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
I like that. Venti? You do Venti?
I do the small one.
Oh, you small?
Yeah. And I don't say the Venti, and I just go small. And they look at me like...
And here's a hat for you too.
Awesome.
Like I said, you could exchange any of this in our warehouse if you don't want.
Okay. Perfect.
We have colors
gifts,
different things. Of course, bro. We want you to take some Instagrams of yourself and doing a 540
Check me out in my crew.
Can you do a 720 in that hoodie? In that crew neck?
This crew neck, I think I could.
Yeah,
it could happen.
Are you green shirt guy? No.
I'm any color but black.
Oh.
Why? Dude, black. I don't know how people wear black. It's all hot. Just like
but it's
absorbs the heat.
Yeah, but
you look the most slim in black. You know,
is that what it's slimming?
Yeah.
My wife says that I should wear black more often, and I don't. I wear like red and green, and like I gotta brighten it up, dude. If you go to the vert ramp, everybody's wearing a black helmet or a white helmet.
Yeah.
The only discrepancy is sometimes where somebody will wear a white helmet, unless Kevin Staub is skating, in which case he'd be wearing a purple or a green.
Okay.
Or if I'm skating.
Well, this will go good. This green shirt will go good.
I'm gonna be looking like I'm Brazil
with the yellow helmet.
Yeah. Brazil, like a little green.
Oh
yellow,
Like now people are really going to call you Bob Burnquist.
See, I know.
He gets called that sometimes. Bob Burnquist.
It happens.
Man, Andy Macdonald, bro. You're the man. Thank
Pleasure,
you so
guys.
much for coming by.
Thank
dude.
you. Air high fives.
Thank you,
Look at
Andy.
that, huh?
Yeah.
Finally, Kelly, lifelong. It's just been
right?
you know, they're gonna go grab some.
around.
They're gonna go grab some lunch together.
Dude, let's go get a
Show,
burrito.
huh?
Oh, I'm down.
For real.
Hey, and thank you for the candy supply.
Oh, absolutely.
Appreciate that.
You guys you got a good collection here. I'm glad I can be part of
You brought the
adding to the
sombrero. You brought us a cool world games.
what is that? Nitro World Games. Big Air. That's all the stuff that was hanging out in my garage.
It is a third place.
Hockey mask.
It is a third place.
And now we have the real Andy Mac helmet, dude. The real.
That's a legitimate.
That's
one.
legit. That's the proper Pantone.
What is the Pantone? Do we know?
Oh, it's top secret.